No Jumper, coolest podcast in the world, and I'm in here today with my good friend Danny from the Stop, who I do believe my YouTube Wrapped said that you are my 5th most viewed channel of the year, and I feel like the people who really watch No Jumper are probably kind of annoyed of hearing me clarify that I watch your channel a lot. So
yeah, I see it. I definitely peeped it. Who is that? And I acknowledge that, but that's dope. I'm a small channel. I saw in your list, I'm like the way smaller than anybody else
right
in that rap. So that was very appreciative.
But I feel guilty even acknowledging that, because as much as me and Joe Budden might not be on the best of terms, I kind of have like a level of resentment for all of the commentary channels out there that are bad actors. You know, like the guys who make the videos about the whole comedy scene and they're just constantly ripping into people and just basically trying to paint your favorite comic as a loser. Kind of love some of that content, obviously, because some of these guys deserve to be taken down. And I wouldn't put you in that box because I feel like you're very open-minded and fair about the stuff that you cover. But it just feels like, you know, like if somebody said, hey, I don't watch No Jumper, but I watch this channel that like makes videos talking shit about No Jumper. I get it. But also, it's kind of like indicative of everything that's wrong with YouTube now.
Yeah,
so I'm not putting that on you, but just in general.
I don't know those guys. You talking about guys like Too Lazy to Try, like all those. Like I love those guys.
Right, which I watch.
Yeah,
pretty religiously.
Yeah, and they're better content creators than some of the people they follow. I think, to me, some of them, not all.
For sure, more work too. Especially they're taking like I get why it's important, and sometimes I have the urge to like do this with podcasts that I watch, but you know, to sit there and talk to your friends for 2-3 hours is pretty lazy. As much as it is also a bunch of labor, you know, and like the person who watches that whole thing finds the good moments, makes a commentary video, you know, in a lot of ways that like people try to like dismiss that stuff as being like low quality content, but in a lot of ways it's much better quality content than a 3-hour slop pod.
Yeah, you're essentially like finding the high points and the key moments that people really tap into, and cutting out all the fat. So you're like a content butcher. And you're like, focus on this part. This is really what's going on. And I think it's like analysis, but people don't like reaction. I mean, some people don't, but other people do. It's a niche audience.
Yeah. Because, you know, normies will always be like, Adam, it's not the critic that counts. The person who deserves all of the triumph, all of the accolades, etc., is the person who goes out there every day and just kills it, and not the person who is critical of them. And that to me is like a really trash argument, because we all are doing that in a way.
Yeah, for real. I think all of the people we talk about, they're tapped in. They know things. They got to research. We spend hours and hours. And sometimes when I see people on podcasts kind of downplay that, and I'm like, I know for a fact you don't put that much work in. Specifically like people on the show, of the people I watch, i.e. like the Demarises and the Ishanices. It's like they look down on this type of content. It's like, I don't think y'all work as hard as I do, but that's just me.
I mean, the one thing that I will say that I admire about Joe Budden's operation is that it seems like when he tells his cast to watch something so that they can react to it, that they actually watch it. Which you watching a lot more of his content might actually take issue with that. But me, generally speaking, almost 100% of the time when I tell the fellow host, hey, watch this show, it's not happening.
I love that it's like, I was here like 2 years ago and you said the same exact thing.
I believe it. I'm sure I said the same thing.
I think it was DW at the time or somebody else. Yeah. So, I mean, people just don't think of that as organic. Like prepping is not organic. Podcasting is, you know, kind of friends kicking it. And sometimes it's not, like, it's blurred. But yeah, I don't know what you're telling these people to watch. Maybe they have, is it like something everybody watches? Because that would piss me off.
Well, looking back on it, asking the No Jumper crew to watch to listen to the new Justin Bieber album seems really foolish. Like,
understand your audience.
That quite clearly was not going to happen. From my perspective, it's kind of like, oh, it would be so entertaining to hear a bunch of gangsters talk about the new Justin Bieber album, which was at that time very, very culturally significant, but possibly kind of.
That's why Lush kills it here, man, because he watches everything, man. Right? No,
do not gas up the addicts. You cannot gas up the addicts. You want to meet Lush?
Lush, for real?
He's here? Lush here.
All right. I mean, I'll meet Lush off air. I feel like that might throw a wrench in this whole thing. But,
yeah. No, actually, yeah. If you're a Lush fan, then I don't want you meeting Lush, because that's our whole thing. We gotta any positivity, we have to jump in between it. It's like if we had like a huge, feast of food,
Mm-hmm.
and then we have like a super obese homie. You got to give him it like little by little.
Yeah.
You can't just like give him the whole cornucopia.
Here's a buffet.
He's not ready for that. Same with Lush. He can't handle the compliments.
Yeah,
we're working on it.
Yeah, no, shout out to. I mean, I only know Lush from battle rap. It's funny that he ended up working here. So
That's crazy that you are schooled in battle rap as well.
Yeah, I was considering being a battle rap blogger, which was a great idea not to be that. But yeah, I went to like a battle rap event where somebody punched somebody.
Really?
And it was Goods and Gyms.
It wasn't a Mouth Hoffa incident?
No, yeah, I know. He's like responsible for 80% of the punching.
Yeah, that's what I always think of.
Nah, it was Goods and Gyms.
Yeah.
I don't know if you know Goods. I don't know if you know Gyms. But yeah, I was a big battle rap fan at the time. And it was funny because as soon as I stopped listening to battle rap, I kind of started focusing on the Joe Budden podcast. And that's how, yeah.
So I'm amazed by your memory of different things. And like, okay, I think a lot of us have the same thing going where we watch podcasts relatively passively.
Mm-hmm.
Probably the vast majority of people who are watching this right now are driving, working out, maybe they're like listening to it in the background at work or something. It's just like very passive listening for most people, which I understand is a lot of stuff in general these days. Like a huge percentage of people, if they're watching the new popular sitcom,
Mm-hmm.
they're watching it while doing something on their phone, realistically. Yeah. But with you, it feels like you're doing like deep understanding based watching of the Joe Budden podcast so that you can really pick out the minutia. Like if you were doing anything else, I don't think you'd be able to have the observations that I frequently see you have.
Yeah, no, I do agree. I feel
and
like
when you talk about watching it twice,
yeah,
you'll be like, oh yeah, I watched this a second time. I'm like, you just watch a 3-hour podcast twice.
I think sometimes it's needed because things play out in retrospect, and you look back at that moment, it's like, oh, that's completely different. Yeah. Whatever happened there was completely different than what I thought was happening.
But do you have a journal or like a list of, like, I feel like you need to be able to like go search different terms in order to be as concise as you sometimes are, or is that not part of it?
Game. I feel like the Reddit.
Oh yeah,
is
you
like
search that.
Yeah, and also my YouTube now serves as a catalog, kind of like an archivist.
Review your own videos.
Yeah, okay. And I look back at things, or also shout out to my community on Twitter and Discord. The fans of the content and the fans of the original source content all kind of feedback, and I have to like kind of decide what I want to chef up. But yeah, no, I do have a list of things that I keep in mind. I have clips, I have content ideas, like for everybody. Like Mark, I might do a video about this. Melissa Ford, I might do a video about that. But yeah, I do catalog it to some extent, but I think the Reddit, Google is all once in a while.
Are you ever like consciously pushing narratives that you might sort of consciously know are maybe a little hyperbolic? Because sometimes it's hard for me to square the fact that you have sat with Imani and that you then make these videos, and like, I'm gonna be real with you, Imani is a person who I like have never thought about in my entire life outside of your videos. Like I just kind of remember seeing like, oh, that's the R&B guy on the hooks on these old Joe Budden songs or whatever. I never really thought about him, but like you are just painting this narrative of him being just treated like and just being like a total flunky on that podcast to the point where like, I can't believe that you're talking like this with a guy that you've really sat with. Like I have a lot of respect for it, honestly, because it's pretty ballsy.
Yeah, I do think that in some ways delineates me from some of the content reactors that I sit with people. But no, I firmly believe what I said. I do think Imani's somewhat of a punching bag. I do think that they do make fun of him, and it's always funny in contrast to Ice, where there's kind of like hands off, which creates like this sharp contrast. But I've always been into that. Like I've always been into the Saturday Night Live, like what's going on with the cast. Eddie Murphy is beefing with Lorne Michaels. Why is that? Like I kind of learned that from the analysis of that. Like I've always been very deeply invested in the men who make us entertained, and I think that we often see these guys as different, but there's just as much backroom office politicians. I'm fascinated about Jay Leno versus Letterman, Howard Stern versus. So I've always been interested in this, and I just see it play out with the content now. So for me, it doesn't feel weird. I know it feels weird to a lot of people though, who might watch it.
If you were gonna sit down with a Manny and do another podcast tomorrow, do you feel like that is something that he would even be open to, or do you think that bridge has been kind of burnt through you doing this content? Has he reached out to you like, hey, I don't appreciate these negative narratives they're spinning about me that are clearly like sort of influential on the cast as well? Like clearly this is, I would be surprised if all of them weren't watching your content.
Yeah, for sure. I know when I said I think Flip and Mark are gonna fight, like I said something like that, and it like happened like days later. But not me and Manny. We actually fell out about something else that had nothing to do with content. It had something to do with content, but nothing about the videos I made. But I get the sense if that never happened, yeah, for sure. I feel like Manny and certain subsets of the Joe Budden podcast, they rock with this shit, man. They like that there's even people making content about them.
Right.
And I don't think I've crossed the line. Some people feel like I've crossed the line, but in terms of like really prying into these people's personal lives, I don't think I've done that.
Right.
So they're with it. They like the fact that there's someone that they can kind of truncate the content, chunk it, and I serve the same purpose to them that also people who watch my channel.
So when did you come close to being on the Joe Budden podcast? Was it just in the context of the improper improv thing? Was that the only time that they invited you through? Because you seem like you kind of made a conscious decision that was not something that you really wanted to pursue. I know you kind of thought about it. You almost did it.
No, yeah, Improper Improv, the show that never was, season 2. I think Ian and Flip, not Flip, Ian wanted to bring me on as some kind of thing to help that show, which was clearly in a bad spot creatively. And it was struggling because there was like this power struggle that seemed to ensue between Flip and Joe about how to run the show, who should be on the show. And then they started doing this bi-weekly thing. And it was like, how you air a show bi-weekly? The cadence was off. So there was like a choice, or maybe Ian wanted me on, but I don't get the sense Flip wanted me on. I don't know how much of that was COE, content over everything. But he kind of nixed that. And I didn't really want to go on Improper Improv. I felt like that is not real to me. Like that is like... That's like the, I don't know, like I'm sure you have offshoots that it's not the real No Jumper.
Well, that's always the problem with like, it's a cool idea that there could be multiple people doing interviews on No Jumper. But like in reality, the girl Laura who works for me was like, you know, trying to pitch people. Like they would try to get an interview with me and then I wouldn't be available. So she'd be like, oh, are you down to do a Sharp interview? And they would take it as if like, oh, so you think I'm like B tier, like I'm not cool enough. Now some people just wanted to do a Sharp interview, but like when she would try to just like replace me with somebody else there, it never really went that good. But you were never supposed to sit down with Joe, or was that ever a discussion?
No, season 2 of Improper Improv to me was some BS, so I couldn't be on it. And
I only did 2 episodes, right? 3 episodes?
And they did like 4.
Oh, okay.
I think like 4 is the magic number. But no, I was never scheduled to be on the Joe Budden podcast or like interview or anything like that.
Yeah. Yeah, man. Queenzflip seems like such a dick. Like, I don't know if it's just your videos making me feel like that because you're like only kind of showing like the negative, but he just seems like such a loudmouth douchebag.
It's interesting because I people like close to the show and not on the show have told me that he's like the nicest guy in real life. But this character, he's just the biggest dick ever. I
mean, it's like when you have to talk to somebody for hours a week, you'll really figure out pretty quickly like what the extent of their personality is. But like to me, it's like he just like is indicative of the kind of podcaster that is not smart and tries to like replace the smart, like where intelligence would normally be a percentage of your value as a human being. He tries to replace it with being like tough. Like he's always like acting tough and it's like, bro, that shit doesn't matter on a podcast.
I think that's a big issue with the whole pod. Like I feel like Manny used to fall into this like I'll slap this shit out you, or I'll do that, and it's like we're in the East Coast, you know, it's a little different. But I think Flip, that's always been his thing, and it worked for him. And it's hard to get away from the fadeaway shot that you always make, or the hook shot, your go-to move. But no, I don't know if he's necessarily a bad dude. I don't know if he's growing, but he was a dick to me, and I always remember that.
But I like how, because like in another world in which they didn't have people making YouTube videos about their content, they would have been able to just like quietly scoot Flip onto one show per week, and then, you know, maybe slowly he's just here and there.
Yeah.
You're like forcing people to actually have conversations about what's really happening. Because, like, for instance, with No Jumper, now if a host is going to leave the platform, it's a huge deal. Everybody's going to talk about it. It's the whole thing. I remember back in the day, there was like a bunch of different people who left the platform, didn't work out. Nobody said anything. There wasn't a Reddit for people to talk about. And then it's kind of like, as time goes by, some people are going to start commenting about it, but they don't really have anywhere to go to really like get the answer about what happened to this guy. And then years later, they see him doing something else. They're like, oh, I remember that guy from No Jumper. And that was like pretty convenient for me to be like, oh, they left the platform and I don't even have to have a conversation about it. That was great. But obviously as fans, like, you know, the fans have matured to the point where these breakups, these pod breakups, even the most minor of characters are very, very important dialogue to have. But yeah, man, like I told you, like, you got to get a blick. Like, Queenzflip is coming. Like,
Queenzflip is coming.
And when I say a blick, I mean like almost like a prison style blick, because I don't think you should be rolling around Brooklyn with a gun on you. But I mean,
it got serious. I mean, he was talking about coming to my job. He was talking about, yo, I'm watching the people in your family, like all types of other.
And he got a lot of blubber on him. So I feel like at the very least, like the law in New York, I think, is that the blade can't be like longer than this. But you might need something like, you need like a London knife.
Yeah, I'm not trying to, I'm not like, I have a regular job, man. Like I've worked in a regular job for the last 15 years of my life. Like it just, I was born in the era of Williamsburg. I know people laugh at that. That was very violent, but
people forget that was where Biggie was doing his thing.
And but I'm not. I went to school. I went to college, and I never had to like go to that type of stuff. I really just wanted to talk about the show, and Flip kind of made it into some other.
I feel you, but also you got to be ready for whatever. So when it comes down to it, I think you got to fillet him like a fish. Just straight up.
He's trying to make the clip Danny wants to stab Flip. Like,
no, Adam wants Danny to stab. Just because I feel like when somebody's out here like threatening your fan, like I don't know if he actually threatened your fan, but he's like acting like he's gonna pull up. It's like
content, but it was also like real. Like if I say, yo, I'm stalking Lena, you probably would be like, what the.
And also it's just like it's so plausible for him to really do that, because like what is separating him? Like all you gotta do is like drive, I don't know where he lives, but probably like 20 minutes or something. Like
New York City's massive.
Yeah, it's like, it's not really like, people lurk around on random streets in New York and nobody notices because there's so much weird shit going on that he could easily stand outside your local bodega just kind of waiting.
But I think that's old Flip, man. I think Flip I don't really think he was doing that. I think he just wanted to with me. I remember Sweet Green. Are you familiar with the restaurant?
Oh, yes.
I remember I went to a Sweet Green in Brooklyn, came out, and Flip tweeted, yo, what do y'all think about Sweet Green?
Whoa.
Yeah.
That's cryptic. Because he's really relying on you seeing his tweet. Because I don't even think, if I saw that tweet 18 hours later, I don't think I would have put it together at all.
Yeah. But I mean, I knew what he was doing there. I assume somebody told him that they saw me. New York is small, so you might literally know someone who works at Sweet Green there.
But also, man, like Flip ain't doing shit.
Yeah, I mean, I think it would be weird to do shit. Like, I
mean, he had that clip where he had security with him and like a dude ran down on him at the park.
He handled his business, I thought.
I mean, he didn't act like a total bitch or anything, but it's not like you didn't seem like you were dying to fight this guy either, you know?
Yeah, it was crazy that the girl maced him. That was the crazy part.
Yeah.
And it got real. It got really real.
Yeah, but for sure, Queenzflip might not last the rest of the year on the podcast, so that's kind of something to look forward to.
I don't know. I would have thought he wouldn't last to this point, but he's still there. I guess Joe. I really think Joe's afraid of firing people. It's a theory that I have had. I think, do you ever sense, like, are you afraid of firing people?
Yeah, well, every time I hear you say that about Joe, it rings true for me too. Because even when I have somebody who I think is behaving like a total douchebag, it's like, I still really like want the relationship to last and to work, because of the fact that I have had so many employees go down in a blaze of glory. And in so many of those cases, the narrative, or at least like, you know, a significant narrative, is Adam is at fault for this. Adam did them dirty. And like in almost every case, there's really like almost no argument to be had. Like, you know, the AD thing, nobody can say that I really did anything bad by AD. T-Rail, I never did anything bad to T-Rail. Like, you know, it's like House Phone is the one person who did get his sexual proclivities exposed, so I can kind of understand that. But like, it just makes me really like want to prove to the people like, hey, this is not my fault. Like, I'm falling out with these people, but it's not because of anything I did. Like in the AD case, he clearly just he thought he had an opportunity to start a business, make more money. If he had been honest about it, that would have been the narrative, and then nobody would be saying, oh, like he did this guy dirty. But so I understand why Joe like wants things to go smoothly, because, you know, even if you fall out with somebody, it's like there's no reason why you have to necessarily like, you know, have it be this terrible thing. Like in a perfect world, let's say Queenzflip did exit No Jumper. I mean, a rational
Queenzflip,
or excuse me, Queenzflip Live, Joe Budden. There's no real reason why they have to beef, but all the incentives are there to the point where we kind of know that is the much more likely course of action, right?
Yeah. Well, I think it's often that in this line of work, things do end abruptly. Emotions don't get expressed. People send sneak disses. People still are upset. So I do feel like there should be no reason, but look at Rory and Julian. Like, they fired Julian. It should have theoretically been okay, but Julian was upset, and that becomes content.
Right.
And that's always how it goes in this field, because leaving something like No Jumper or the Joe Budden podcast, people are like, oh, look at them. They left. They suck. What happened? And it's just, when the cameras are on, you can't kind of.
Yeah, I mean, people inevitably start to realize like, oh, right now is the most attention that anybody is ever going to be paying me realistically, unless my life just tends to go in like a totally different direction, like Julian. I mean, honestly, like the fact that there's even like tens of thousands of people who are willing to watch a podcast about him leaving the Rory and Mal podcast is kind of amazing in the first place. Because who the f is he? I still don't even. He's just like some guy who worked there. Like, who the f cares? You know. So I really like appreciate when somebody like doesn't work at No Jumper. Honestly, even like this year, like we've had a couple different people that we had to like go, and like these are behind the scenes people.
Oh damn! Yeah.
And they didn't like turn it into some weird smearing us thing. But which, to be fair, is it's not like they really would have had a reason to. But it just seems like the incentive is so strong for most people.
Yeah, I feel like anybody, like some janitor, could work here and be like, what happened to me at No Jumper, and is going to get views. So there is an incentive to just bash your former employer. If they have an audience, people will love it. Then people will react to the janitor bashing you. Then all types of content will be made.
It's tired and true, because remember why I left BuzzFeed? It was like a meme for a long time, because they had so many people working for them, and it's just, you know, it's like inevitably it wasn't going to work out. You want to do some sort of year-end roundup? Is that kind of the plan?
Yeah, I think we have to, because the death of the year-end wrap-up, as a lot of platforms ended up separating. We Joe Budden and Charlamagne don't do their wrap-up no more. There's no more. Everybody, like, Joe doesn't do his wrap-up by himself. So I seen there was an attempt. It was like the B-side wrap-up. It was like Parks and Rob Markman. I was like, damn, we're really desperate for a wrap-up. Everybody wants to do a wrap-up.
Oh, okay.
So I wanted to talk about, like, what's going on in content, man. The iHeart deal just took place. I don't know if you saw Charlamagne. $200 million. I'm wondering, they gonna seem like I'm hating, but I saw Charlamagne shouting out Shigs, and I'm like, okay, it's interesting what's going on. It's interesting what's going on.
So you think that Charlamagne was shouting out Chigs as a way to get at Joe? Because he does a lot of videos that are. Is he critical of Joe? I don't even know that.
Chigs don't really. I think he's just more of a newsbreaker.
He's a news guy. Yeah.
Well, I think he was trying to. I know it's gonna sound. I don't want to say it. It's gonna sound crazy and delusional. I think he was shooting at, to some extent, me for reporting on the ratings of the Breakfast Club, and I still think the ratings were never dominant. And I believe that we have to. I just don't know how to frame the Breakfast Club, because by the old metrics, they're never dominant. They don't wipe everyone down, but they've been such a mainstay of iHeart and access to a lot of talking points and key things. But he just signed a $200 million deal. So
yeah,
what do you think?
Well, number one, when I hear so and so signed a $200 million deal, I mean, we have had other times in rap media history in which people have proclaimed that they had received a 9-figure deal, in which I guess I would say I'm skeptical. So really, really, really good headline.
Do you believe in Barstool? No. I feel like I know what you're talking about.
Listen, Charlamagne getting $40 million a year for 5 years. I mean, if that is true, then I am extremely proud of him and happy for him.
Yeah.
I don't know how that's true. I don't like. Maybe this is just a side of the business that I don't necessarily understand, but yeah, that's not like what.
Yeah, because I'm looking at previous like Bill Simmons and Gimli's like you have to own some shit, right? Often. Then on top of that, Charlemagne doesn't own the Breakfast Club. But I'm like, now I'm thinking like, is it like super incentive based metrics that you have to hit that are unreachable?
Yeah.
Like those types of things, like football contracts where all right, we find out Deshaun Watson signed for like $300 million for 6 years, but he could get cut at any time and he has to hit a certain amount of metrics.
Right.
I wondered if that was it. It just seems like a really significant land breaking deal in this context of media. But who knows how is it gonna last? Is it gonna? And it seems like hater shit. But I feel like it's still something we got to talk about.
I mean, it definitely is not going to last, right? In the same way that like when Ak got a Spotify deal, I remember talking to him about it and him saying very, accurately, he's like, this kind of deal is not going to exist in a couple of years. And that was kind of eye-opening. You know, there's the realization from somebody like him that Spotify is in a bit of a land grab for podcasts right now, and they want to enter into the space. And if they want to enter into the space, then they're going to have to get, big name performers on their platform. But then ultimately, once Spotify became a normal place to post podcasts, it's like, well, why would we pay you for the exclusive when you also are clearly wanting to put your content in other places? And I think with the whole Netflix podcast thing, I kind of always wondered, when was Netflix going to dip their toe into user generated content? Granted, this is different than that, but it's like they're kind of slowly dropping their standards down to the point where, Netflix having like game shows was a surprise a couple of years ago. Now Netflix has podcasts, which are much, much cheaper to create than anything else that is on their platform. And ultimately, I think they'll probably, maybe right now they're putting 20 podcasts on Netflix, but ultimately, I would say give it 2 years and No Jumper will be on Netflix and your podcast will be on Netflix. Everything's going to be on Netflix because why wouldn't they? It's just more content. Another way for them to keep you on the app. They're going to give you a revenue share. And yeah, they'll probably it's smart brand wise for them to keep it relatively exclusive. But if the business makes sense for them to have every podcast that gets, 1 million views, then ultimately it's going to make sense for them to get every podcast that has 100,000 views.
Yeah, no, I've always said this, and I think it's not novel, this concept that Netflix wasn't competing with Peacock. They were competing with the algorithm-heavy folks who knew how to put people in front of the content that they wanted to watch. Yeah. And I think this is the realization of that fact. Like, they know that Rory and Mal, even if they have a small audience, they have an audience that's going to come and migrate over. And they could, I almost think, like, can't they do it with other shows? Like, can't they just see how these shows work, then rip them off, or like create their own versions of that, like Ozark and Breaking Bad?
But I don't know that there's that much of an incentive for them to like create podcasts, because they would much rather, I think, have a relationship like with Rory and Mal, where it's like, oh, you got this many views, here's this much money as a percentage of the ads, and maybe they have to give them something up front this time around or whatever. I guess that makes sense. But I mean, ultimately them like creating their own podcasts from the ground up, I just don't really think it's worth it. Like that everyday struggle mentality, like Netflix doesn't need to be complex. They don't need to be the ones writing a huge check to multiple high-priced I mean, it's just but just why? Like, why would they even do that? No, it doesn't make any sense. Like maybe so I personally think that it's a dope step for podcasts, because I really think like the advertising of being on the Netflix app is going to be big. I think that's going to be like the main benefit of having Netflix drawing tons of people towards watching The Breakfast Club. Like that could really move the needle in terms of their overall fan base.
Yeah, I saw Joe he had mentioned, and like they were maybe gonna sign to Netflix but didn't. I feel like there was like, it seemed like the core of this was the ownership part. Like Joe was essentially hinting, he didn't say it directly, that he owns his IP, so he's having a different discussion with Netflix than Charlemagne. But now all of these iHeart podcasts are saying, oh no, we had the discussion directly with Netflix. I heard Rory and Mal say, yeah, we spoke to Netflix directly. Charlemagne's been mum's the word, but I don't know what's going on, man. I feel like this is a winning the headlines moment, and I always thought Charlemagne, that's what he's great at, winning the headline. And I don't necessarily leave his material. Remember they were signed to VH1, BET, that whole thing?
Right. Well, this also like the narrative with this gets to easily be, hey, look at how successful the Black Effect Network is.
Mm-hmm.
That was not the narrative that we were having prior to this. Prior to this, the narrative has been the Black Effect Network does not really seem like it's doing much of anything that's really working out. You tell me if I'm wrong, but
it doesn't stick out. It's lost in the sea of pods.
Yeah, and now podcasting has been devalued. A lot of these podcasts are, basically totally irrelevant. I don't know. Are there other podcasts on the Black Effect Network that are significant?
There's the latest with Lauren. I think Just Hilarious has a pod. There's also the ones that are big that signed to them, like Earn Your Leisure at one point was like signed to them, or Drink Champs was signed to them. Pre-existing podcasts.
Didn't Earn Your Leisure just go away?
No,
or was that was another one?
No, they're still here. That's the Need to Know.
Oh yeah, these are all just like phrases, podcasts named after phrases that I've never watched. No offense, but like, yeah, it was kind of weird watching you make a video about this podcast that I've never heard of going out of business.
Yeah, which one was that?
I Need to Know, or whatever you just said. Fucking these two dudes who quit recently. Weren't they? You said they were getting DEI ads.
Oh, Savon and Alex.
Yeah,
the Need to Know that was another thing with the Black Effect. I don't know if you guys ever got DEI ads here, but
I'm dying to get one, bro. I'm a white hip hop podcaster. Yeah, I need help.
I feel like the guys brokering deals at the Black Effect for DEI ads probably look like you though. So, because I think those guys often getting it. But anyway, they had essentially said that because of Trump's laws passing to get rid of DEI, that they no longer got DEI. So I was like, damn, that seems like a bad idea for the Black Effect. How are they going to... I do remember them getting ads, and I was like, who the watches this podcast?
Right.
Like, and why are they getting ads? And these are like big ads. They were saying they were making like hundreds of thousands of dollars.
It's insane. I don't get it. Like, that's just like that's mind blowing. Like that. Like that's why we need Doge. Yeah, just to tear apart shit like that. No, because like, what are you talking about? Like, can someone do the science and actually go through all of these podcasts to look for the DEI ads? Because I don't know.
I remember listening to them. It was
it would be ads for the concept of DEI.
No, it'd be like,
or it'd be like, hey, hire a black guy.
It'd be like condom ads. It'd be like McDonald's ads, and it would be like, I think like Black History Month ads, like those types of things.
Wow.
So, and I remember Rory and Maul and the Need to Know having it, and I was like, damn, that's fire. Rory and Maul are different than Need to Know. I just didn't understand how you could have a podcast that gets like 3,000 views, and I know people always use the black box of my audio numbers are crazy.
And that problem is going to get way worse with this whole Netflix development.
What you mean by that?
Because now we're going to have like the YouTube side of the podcasting world and then the Netflix side. Because is it just the Breakfast Club that's going to be Netflix exclusively, like not on YouTube?
They're going to only have clips.
Clips, right?
Yeah.
But I mean, it's just going to be weird to compare, let's say, the Joe Budden podcast and the Breakfast Club, because the Breakfast Club is going to be a black box of not being able to view any of their numbers. But wait, so is Joe Budden's going to Netflix? No, he's not. Okay.
I think he had mentioned having talks with them or something.
He's getting ads from Netflix, I guess.
Which, Jake Paul.
Yeah, some kind of relationship coming together there. But just like in general, we're going to have one side that is a big black box in terms of views and one side that is fully transparent.
Yeah, and I don't know. A lot of people have pushed back against my existence in terms of using YouTube as a metric to measure the success of a pod. But I still feel like if you have really low views on YouTube, I don't know how you would be that dominant audio wise. I think there's the read.
Yeah.
But yeah.
I remember people talked about them a lot 10 years ago.
Yeah. I think they're still big.
They are. Okay. Because I mean, that is the weird thing is like if you are legitimately popular, people will follow you to whatever platform. Like I have been subscribed to Sam Harris's podcast for 10 years, just from philosophy and politics, religion, whatever. He's my favorite podcaster in that world. His numbers on YouTube would lead you to believe that he's pretty mid, but he's only really even like emphasized YouTube at all, like kind of the last couple of years. Like I would assume for someone like him, his podcast numbers are 100 times whatever is on YouTube. But meanwhile, a lot of people seem like they want to get away with that excuse, and I'm not going for it.
Yeah. I mean, this has sparked a measuring contest. I feel like Joe and Charlamagne are still going back and forth, but it's nice to see their like war navigate from hot to cold. So now they're like subverting each other secretly or dissing each other secretly. I feel like Charlamagne would never go public with a deal like this unless Joe Budden did that Patreon thing. Unless he did that, we're making 20 million.
Yeah.
I feel like that's completely Charlamagne standing back like, whoa, this guy's being transparent now. I gotta do the same. And boom, for $200 million deal.
I mean, it's the same logic why people buy views. It's the same logic why people buy fake viewers, is that really it's all about public opinion. And that public opinion is going to be the thing that makes somebody choose your podcast over another podcast. And these narratives, like you see how addictive and alluring they are to people. That's my problem with it, though, is that when I did my whole little viral thing that really was like a viral strategy that popped into my head, is like, I'm going to go on this podcast. I already knew that they were going to ask me how much money I was making. And I was like, I'm going to tell them I'm making $1 million a month. And I don't give a if it's true. I'm just going to say it, you know. I grew up on Jay-Z. We faking it till we make it. And I did it, and it caused chaos and havoc and lots of negative.
Fucked it up,
yeah, it really fucked shit up to a certain extent. But then meanwhile, some podcasts are out here claiming that they got $100 million deal or whatever, and that doesn't seem to like negatively impact them in any way. Really, I feel like a big part of that is just like, if you are white in rap, you're probably better off staying low key.
Yeah.
The label executives seem like they understand that.
Yeah.
Mike Caron's not doing a house tour.
That's true. Like if one of them that makes money off Drake said, I made this much money off Drake, it'd probably be a big deal.
But if Drake says, hey, what a great tour, I made $400 million.
Yeah.
And he's hated, kind of, you know, like Drake is pretty hated, and he would still be able to get by with that. Like, that would be like, you know, hey, good for him. He made a stupid amount of money. That's crazy. But I feel like, you know, from a podcast perspective, it's not good. Vlad, like Vlad, I'm like, I would tell him the same thing. Like, yo, just keep it low key.
Yeah.
If you buy a $50 million house, just keep it low.
I mean, it's like in Casino when Robert De Niro went on TV, started bragging about how much the casino's making. But I think that I feel like you just mentioned something that was interesting. Botting. How serious is botting in content? I feel like I already know the answer. But
you are in a group chat that I'm in where we share data, and there's at least one very popular podcast that I am extremely
skeptical. And
I wouldn't even say skeptical. I would say that I have presented the case in this group chat in an undeniable fashion.
I'm just like, the thing is with this particular podcast, it's seen as like a bastion, one of the 4 pillars of the space. To even levy that level of suggestion might garner the most hate that you will ever see, because this podcast positions itself as helping people. And
that's why I know that if I were to call them out, that it would just be all bad for me.
Yeah.
Because
feed us.
But I have presented screenshots in such a way to you that I don't think that there's any questioning that there's trouble afoot. But either way, I mean, hey, I've kind of decided, you know what, it's low-hanging fruit. I'm not going to make a career out of making content about other people botting views, even if it's incredibly obvious that they're botting views. I think, okay, look at Twitch and Kick. It is unbelievably glaringly obvious. It's been documented left and right that there's a lot of people who are doing this on Twitch and other streaming platforms. And I think it's worthwhile, because in particular, it's worthwhile on these platforms because if you rise to the top of the leaderboard, then you get preferential treatment because people are going to see your stream a lot more. Whereas if I found out that you were botting half your views on YouTube, my overwhelming emotion would just be confusion, because why would that benefit you really, aside from just like people perceiving you as being more successful?
Yeah, I feel like YouTube, there's a value in botting too. I don't bot, but I often think like, oh, imagine if, you know, the videos that do 30,000 views do 90,000, and like the perception of the people you cover might change. They might start to see you a certain way. You will get people trying to work with you. That vanity metrics are certainly a thing, and they always will be the thing, because there's people getting 700 views making great content, but if nobody watches them, it doesn't matter.
I mean, it's multiple things, because the botting of views allows you to be seen as more successful than you actually are. But then in addition to that, the clipping is another way that people are able to sort of obscure what's going on. Because just the other day, I was watching a podcast where somebody was accusing a Twitch streamer of botting their views, right? And the person communicating on this podcast said, I don't believe that she's botting her views. She's everywhere on TikTok. This is how stupid people are is that they don't realize that all of these supposedly popular content creators are paying teams of clippers, and yes, that person may be very popular. It's possible. Yeah. But just because you're seeing a lot of clips of them doesn't mean shit. That means that they're spending a lot of money to get their shit clipped.
2,000 sometimes, yeah.
And still, I mean, like it might not always work. And if any of those clips are getting any kind of traction, it is indicative of them having some kind of appeal. But as far as having like a hardcore fan base, I mean, that's like a totally different thing. And just because you're seeing this person's clips doesn't necessarily mean, like, having a great clipping infrastructure is a big part of being perceived as more popular. Like I'm kind of working on it now of like just figuring out like how we can get our stuff clipped more and everything. But it is ultimately kind of like, oh, so we're going to like spend a bunch of money to like make our shit look more popular than it actually is.
Yeah, I mean, it's funny because it's like almost like cycles. Like you'll see a popular new streamer like Neon and be like, oh my God, he just asked Iggy Azalea out on a date and look what happened.
Right.
And then it'll get like 1 million views because Fearbucks or whatever that's called posted it. And then you'll see them like disappear for a little bit and then they come back and then there's a new one.
Yeah.
Or there's like Fanoom, just this girl really likes him. And it's like, it's interesting. And I feel as if it's hard to navigate this space to be authentic. And it's like even people who get views the natural way are still accused of botting, which is kind of messed up. Like I remember somebody said I'd be bot. I was like, you think I don't understand why you would say that shit. Like, but it's just kind of, you see yourself falling off too. There's people who are falling off, and I gotta bot this shit because the perception is that I'm falling off.
Yeah,
and I think Sneeko did a really good video about it. Which is like the first Sneeko video I ever saw. I think you shared in the chat.
Oh yeah, I sent it to you. Yeah, because he sums it up pretty good about like, you know, some people won't bot, but they'll make all of their content about like other YouTubers beefing, which it's not botting, but it is like them creating content that is really the only thing that they can think of that will get them some views.
Yeah.
You know, so it's not botting, but it is like indicative of the fact that they're basically willing to make content solely based on what is going to get them views, because, and we're all guilty of that to a certain extent. But yeah, I mean, it's just it's a weird world that we're living in right now. And when you realize like that people are doing this and that it's working, like, okay, Neon is a good example, because Neon, I feel comfortable saying, after seeing a lot of different people producing content about it, that Neon bots his views on Twitch. And I totally understand why. Because it brings him to the top of that leaderboard and he gets way more organic views. And as a result, like all he has to do is just like pay these botters to like, you know, gas his numbers up, and then he gets more organic views as well. And when I saw Neon last time, maybe a month ago, I said to him, I'm like, hey man, I'm proud of you. You've been killing it. And he's like, really? You think so? And I'm just thinking like in my head, I'm like, nobody who has 40,000 concurrent viewers every single time they go live responds to a compliment like that. Like, really? You think so? No, if I had 40,000 live viewers every single time I went live, I would know that I was lit.
You would know you're special.
Just like the way you responded, like, you think I'm doing good? And I'm like, oh, right.
Could be insecure. I don't know.
Maybe right. Like the clippers, the botters, like that. Yeah, I feel you.
But that is smart, man. He has the infrastructure. It's what the labels do, right? It's what the labels do with a new artist. They put them in front of audiences. So I can't say that this is a bad strategy. I can't say that I think at some point it will go away. It was just not anytime soon. And it's really hard for the smaller creators. Plus, you know, you see these big podcasts doing it. And it's like, damn, they doing it too? And it's like, damn. Like, I the pod we talk about, these guys are like monsters in the space. And it's like finding out that the banks are giving loans that are being defaulted on.
but it would fuck up their image and all the other businesses that they have if people realized that the world was that uninterested in hearing them podcasts, you know? Because it just wouldn't really like sync up well with everything else that they're putting out there. Like if you can get hundreds of thousands of likes on your Instagram photos, why can't you get a couple 100,000 views on your podcast? But the truth is that liking your Instagram post, which also could be fake, but that's it's a lot easier to say, hey, I like this guy, I like what he represents, and therefore I'm gonna double click this photo when it pops up in my feed, versus I'm gonna sit here for an hour and a half and watch this bullshit. That's just like a way bigger sell, you know?
I mean, you can see some of the shit ain't adding up. Bullshit catching up, as JC would say. like people with like AI thumbnails and it's like Joe Budden shit makes sense because the way it looks a certain way. The Breakfast Club shit makes sense. They post consistently, great thumbnails, great titles, but then other people post and they get the same amount of views. It just doesn't add up. But I mean, I think we did the botted thing. I gotta ask this question. I don't know if it's okay.
Yeah.
State of No Jumper. What's going on here, man? Is it going well? I remember you did that. You reminded me of Mel Gibson in Ransom, telling people, "Hey, there's $1 million bounty." When you sat here and you said, "We're going out of business." Yeah, and it seemed like almost theater. I don't know how much of that was true. It seemed like a way to kind of just let people think what they think, but control the narrative.
Yeah, I mean, I honestly wanted to kind of reset the narrative because I'm constantly dealing with people who think that this business is like better than it actually is, which is a little bit bizarre to have to deal with. And especially, but it's understandable at the same time because I did kind of go through an extensive period of time where I was gassing No Jumper up. I was playing the game of acting like we were more successful than we actually are.
Fake it till you make it.
Exactly. And like I kind of just realized at some point that I didn't really want to have to like keep up this front as if we were doing better than we actually are. And so I sort of took a step back in that regard.
Like good? Because there was a time.
Oh, it felt great. Yeah, it felt amazing. Honestly.
There was a time where there was like Adam gets business more than Joe does. He understands. Like there was a time where you were looked at as the model. And obviously things have changed.
Because his host left before mine left.
Yeah.
And I'm going to be totally real with you. He's done a better job since then of rebuilding.
Yeah.
You know, like, and it is kind of interesting because when you really look at his hosts, you got Ice and Ish who are kind of just bumps on the log. They ain't really doing too much, right? But he did have two solid enough to keep the wheels on guys that he could sub in there. You know, for us, the Lush thing kind of came together relatively quickly, but I was left with nothing going on for a while there in the beginning. And then the Lush thing kind of worked out. And then the Brick Baby thing honestly worked out pretty good. Like, I think Brick Baby is probably like the best, maybe the best No Jumper host ever, or at least like very close to it, you know? And I think that, you know, then Brick Baby gets the Fed case. Okay, then we get the Munchie B thing going on. We're not really 100% sure what's going on with the Munchie B thing because
that was crazy.
We had a crazy encounter the other day. But I mean, Munchie B's kind of like worked out pretty good. You know, I don't know. I mean, I actually have kind of had that realization recently of the number one thing that it makes sense for me to spend time on and put time into is just finding more talent. Because every time somebody leaves or something like seems like it's not going to work out with somebody, I find myself being like, we don't have enough talent. Like we need more. And I feel like that's something where I got to just work harder. Like that stream that we did where we had like 50 people come in here and all compete to be the next No Jumper host. Yeah. We got a bunch of like pretty good people as a result of that.
We did?
Yeah. I mean, nobody really like became like a No Jumper A-lister immediately, but I think I gotta like pursue shit more like that in general. Cause yeah, it's definitely like, especially with Brick getting locked up, that kind of like fucked up some of our momentum. And the other resulting thing, which is that we then for some reason had this like reputation as being like a Fed platform or something, which is very annoying to me since it doesn't really make any sense. But
I thought the indictment was a big thing, especially when I saw that dude get beat up. I was like, this is going to change everything. I remember being on
But that was totally unrelated to the indictment.
It was.
Yeah.
But it's perception, right?
Like, people round these things all together. Yeah.
And I was thinking like, I always reference casinos like when the pyramids fell in the end of the video in the movie, and I'm like, yo, this is going to be so different for Adam now. Because I feel like prior to that point, there had never been that level of violence that was in the orbit, let's just say. And I thought like, okay, and then the whole thing happened, and it felt like you couldn't really get into that type of content no more. I don't even know if you think you did that type of content. You might be insulting if I said that. But
no, I mean, we talk about street shit, we talk about gang shit, but then all of a sudden we have a dude who's like not a No Jumper host beating the shit out of a guy who had nothing to do with No Jumper.
That was sad.
But it happened here, and we just had to deal with like a shitload of negativity as a result of it, even though like, you know, I'm arguing with Jim Jones and he's telling me that my platform is a Fed platform, and I'm like, what are you, like, why are you saying that? And it's just like, it didn't need to make logical sense because it was a vibe. It was an emotion. And I do feel like in large part, we're kind of like past that now. Like, it doesn't feel like I hear that anymore so much, but that definitely was like a really bad thing. I might even go out on a limb and say 2025 could be like an all-time low for No Jumper.
I think that's kind of cool that you admit that, because a lot of people they're not that transparent.
Yeah, because I'm just going to combine that beating footage, which I guess technically was the very end of 2024, with Brick getting the Rico, and, Crip Mac is locked up, so he's not around. Maybe Munchie B quit the podcast at the very end of the year, which would be a shame. There's just been kind of a bunch of unfortunate stuff. And I think that in general, podcasting as a business is just getting harder and harder.
Yeah.
And I think that as a result, even that, podcasting is becoming less popular, hip hop's becoming less popular, and then No Jumper had to deal with a bunch of real shitty negative things. So I do feel like we're kind of in a good position to build back better. But
do you think you handled that well? Because I felt like there was a couple things I saw where you were the cops came to my house and they asked me for some stuff. It was an Instagram post. Yeah. And I was like, I don't know if you should have done that. I mean, it's obviously your call, but it's just playing into it. I felt like there was a point where you were playing into it.
All I did was talk about that, and I explained that I had not spoken to them and that I had my lawyers deal with it. And so I don't really know how that would, I don't know what I could have done to maybe I should have just not talked about it at all. But to me, it's pretty unique, pretty interesting.
It's fascinating.
Having the feds holler at you for the first time ever, even though I didn't communicate with them at all, just the fact that my lawyers were having this conversation was just kind of.
Didn't they say they was listening to pods? Didn't the feds say they was listening to podcasts?
So,
not just No Jumper. I think all of the podcasts.
I mean, I don't know necessarily. The only thing I know is that when the conversation was happening about whether Brick Baby should get bail or not, that his bail rejection letter was basically listing off a bunch of different stuff that he had said on the podcast, and they had the image of him with a blick hanging out of his pants on the podcast the night before they caught him. So for sure that was.
And I don't know. It's up to is it incumbent upon you to check that? I don't know, but that shit was crazy.
Brick is the one person too who he kind of had carte blanche. Is that how you say it? Carte blanche with the security. He kind of convinced the security that they didn't need to search him.
Probably not a good thing. Yeah, but no, I
mean, his whole life is going to be so different now. If he comes home in a week, and he's not able to be Brick Baby rolling around with a blick on him, everything's going to be a little different.
I don't want to insult Brick in any way, but it's really a compliment. He felt like the mascot for No Jumper in the way that Jerry West was the logo for NBA. And it was everything circulated about Brick Baby. He could have done anything. So it sucked to see. Obviously, I don't know what happened with all of that case, but he was definitely one of the top hitters that I ever saw here.
Yeah, and I mean,
I shouldn't have used that word.
Well, no, but for real. But he he was someone who became a partner in No Jumper right as soon as those other guys left, so that was important. Me and him were actually hanging out in real life, actually kind of going out and doing stuff, which was nice to actually be. I definitely hung out with Brick more than I hung out with anybody else who was ever a host. Yeah. People act oh, you and AD were such good friends or whatever. It's me and AD barely ever spent any time together. That's kind of cap. But so seeing him go was definitely one of the shittier things this year, and it's weird because it's he could be gone for, I don't know, a couple months, or he could be gone for a couple years, or 8 years or whatever is numbers that they're throwing around.
Yeah, I mean, and then even if it does come back in a couple months, there's still another thing with that, right? There's gonna still be blowback about how do you integrate somebody that. Sure.
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, I'm hoping he comes back ASAP, but yeah, that I mean, really, that's a huge part of the problem with doing,
investing in
you
people.
give it to Joe Budden that he probably could have got a bunch of gangster ass dudes to be podcast hosts at a certain point, and probably was pretty wise in not doing that. And I went a different direction. I got the spiciest, craziest hosts possible.
Speaking of, Sue Surf is likely going to be on the pod. when he comes out
on his pod.
Yeah, I think
That's gonna be interesting.
it comes out February.
Really?
And Joe said something to the extent that I'm gonna have Surf live in my apartment, but I think it was more so to keep him away from trouble. But I'm like, if he's gonna be in your apartment, he's gonna be on the pod. And I think what's cool about Joe in terms of Surf is he was never ever positioned as a gang podcaster. He was just Sue Surf, but then again, Sue Surf is an entertainer. So I remember him on other podcasts going off. So I think even the way Joe, because I think it was cool how you admitted that maybe this was a downfall of, like, not downfall, but a down year. Joe, when he had his down year, he had his talking points ready about why it was a down year. I remember him saying some shit like, yeah, the numbers are down, but it's because people are listening to audio because Ish and Ice are older. So like that makes no sense.
And I didn't hear Joe say this, but like even as you say that right there, I can just picture him saying this as if you're an idiot for not understanding this like totally bullshit convoluted logic. Like what? Yeah, like Ish and Ice are older than Rory and Maul. Who the f cares? Like, how can it possibly? I mean, you know, that's Joe. He likes to spin his little narrative.
Nah, he's like a cult leader for real. Like he tells his audience stuff, and not the whole audience believes it, but they believe it. I mean, maybe you should get into that bag where you start making up like things and be like, yeah, we're more bet because audio's a black box. Who's gonna be able to look up those numbers?
I don't think anybody would really believe that No Jumper was a platform that was primarily benefiting from those. Which, to be fair, though, I would be correct to call that out all the time because we actually do get a very significant number of views from the audio platforms because of the fact that we've really emphasized that we put like No Jumper content on the audio platforms from the very beginning. Even like our SoundCloud has like 130,000 followers. That was just for the audio, you know, like we stopped posting on there years ago, but like, you know, that we could easily emphasize that, but I mean, it's just who the cares? Like we're talking about YouTube numbers because that's where most of us watch our content, right?
Yeah, that's what you're known for. And it's like at one point Vice became, you know, a video place, not a website article place. Yeah. So it's just what it is. But I mean, one thing I wanted to touch upon too is what do you think about Rory and what happened? I feel like you never talked about that, or maybe you did.
Yeah, I did talk about it, but you know, I mean, like what part about it? The fact that he had racist tweets from back in the day?
More so how he dealt with it.
Yeah, he dealt with it like a dummy, for sure. Like the last thing you want to do is submerge yourself in this fucking cesspool of people who are complete loser nobodies. No offense to these Twitter spaces, but it's just nobody in their right mind who is a celebrity should be spending this much time with their fans in an environment like that in which they are able to basically like get to you and get on your level in a way in which they have not earned at all. Like putting yourself into that at that moment when everybody's mad at you and everybody's hating on you for fairly legitimate reasons, and then not only putting yourself in that environment but like challenging them. Do it or don't. Do it or don't. Sometimes I think that in my head and it just like plays. like
I do that too.
That's
do
weird.
It or don't.
Yeah, do it or don't. Do it or, like
I'm gonna knock you out. You bitch.
Do it or don't. I just think of that in my head sometimes because I'm like, who the fuck says that? That's such a bizarre thing to say. Like, what are you doing?
I know on the phone too, but I feel as if he thought, and that was another thing somebody brought up the other day to me, is like these things will get clipped. And it won't look like a bunch of Kendrick fans are taking you to task. It'll just sound like people who are genuinely upset without the subtext of knowing that they're mad at your GNX review. And those tweets weren't good either, but yeah. No,
for sure. A bunch of weird text. But I refuse to take seriously the notion that Rory is a racist. Rory, he has the opposite problem.
He panders, you saying?
Yeah, he's a pick-me white boy.
Okay.
And I'm not saying that in a negative way because obviously it's worked out for him and you find a million examples of me doing the same shit, but it's like, you know, this guy's like the least inclined to say anything critical about black people of any, like if you were to like put all the white people in one room, he's in the top one. It's like him and Robin DiAngelo are like the top 1% forgiving whites. Who?
Jeremy Heck.
Yeah. Okay. Rory's in the top 2. Jeremy's in the top 1.
Jeremy and Rory, that guy, he did a video after Rory got canceled about why Rory should move differently, as if Rory doesn't know he should move differently.
I acknowledged his existence for the first time after that podcast broke up. I sent him a DM on Instagram being like, yo, you want to do a podcast? He didn't respond.
I mean, I feel like, why not?
I've never seen that podcast.
I think
I've seen a couple clips, but
I think he's a nice guy, but just some of the takes he has, man, is always like so predictable. All the anti-Drake guys are so predictable, man.
So like unserious. When you look back at a lot of those takes, you know what it feels like? It feels like when you look back at the video of all the white celebrities who are all crying and saying like,
we have failed.
I am so sorry for every time someone made a joke around me and I didn't tell them that they were wrong. I'm so sorry. I'm so sorry for racism. That's like how it felt seeing like that has just aged so poorly. And the only other thing that I can think of that has aged poorly, because Drake versus Kendrick was the 2020 racial reckoning, but for...
It sounds stupid, but it's true.
It just consumed the culture in such an extreme way. And when you watch the clip of like Jeremy and DJ Head and Elliot talking about how bad Drake was for women, it has that exact effect on you. When they're talking about Drake as like a sickness, it's like, yo, y'all really thought that the world was changing in a way that it absolutely did not. Like the
timeline tricked them.
They had just convinced themselves that this was the good fight to be fighting. That like Drake was like it was like the coronavirus, and he needed to be Drake equals systematic racism is basically like the argument that they were moving around with.
My thing was I never understood why they didn't get a Drake fan to be on the show. I thought that would have helped the show been so much popular. I thought it could have been Fox News. You get even if you got like a fat Drake fan, like that is really like just there, like the Combs of Hannity, and they were an echo chamber. I know Head is different. I don't want to disrespect Head, but I just don't find them that entertaining. Elliot's another one. It's like there's all the wavelength of just the same opinion. And I think that's why the Joe Budden podcast is good, because sometimes at least they pretend to not agree. These guys were just like pretending not to agree, but still agreeing. It's like,
yeah, honestly, like DJ Head and I used to have a cool relationship. He used to hit me up on some real cool. I don't know. You'd hit me up just like telling me with me and shit like that. And like, I think we didn't talk for a couple of years, and then the Drake and Kendrick shit pops off, and like I can click on his Twitter for the first time in years, and I'm like, oh shit! Like I caught the unfollow.
Oh wow!
And then I was like, realizing like, oh, maybe I'm part of this OVO style scourge upon society. Maybe I need to be wiped out just like Drake. I don't know. I'm not really sure exactly how DJ Head went from being a big fan of the 22 story to being opposed to, man.
That shit was wild. It's like if you were a Drake fan, you were a Trumper.
Oh yeah, it was treated like that for sure. Maybe worse too.
And it was crazy because I think Kendrick's really talented. I've just been listening to Drake way more these last 15 years.
Yeah. I mean, to even put Kendrick in the same category as Drake in terms of like stardom, it's just so stupid, so silly. Like he has not produced like anywhere near the body of work that Drake has produced. Drake's like a master of all genres. The idea that this was even like the guy that you could put up against Drake as the anti-Drake is so fucking funny in retrospect that this was ever taken seriously.
Yeah.
I don't know. It's just kind of...
It kind of reminds me of when Muhammad Ali was like telling Joe Frazier, like, you're not one of us. It was like this dude was like blue collar.
Yeah.
But he talked so good, Muhammad, that he could just talk that shit and he could make people believe that. And I mean, Kendrick is different because he still is one of the highest selling rappers of all time. He still is bigger than most rappers that there will ever exist. So there is a commercial success with him that there's never going to be another Drake that's going to be as equal as him. So you got to find the next best thing. And Kendrick lyrically was he's elite. He's one of the best. I don't listen to him though.
No, I mean, I listened to Good Kid, Mad City, Elite album.
Love that. Handful
of good songs over the years. G&X I thought was a pretty good project. A lot of those other projects that are treated and revered as if they're incredible, I have no use for. That being said, not a word that I think has really entered like the hip hop lexicon. Populism. A political approach. Tell me if this sounds like Kendrick. a political approach that strives to appeal to ordinary people who feel that their concerns are disregarded by established elite groups. I think you need to like think about that word when you understand what move Kendrick and his team tried to pull on the people. Like they really tried to convince you in a very like Trump style way, hey, the Democrats are actually the ones who fucked everything up. I can save you. They're elites. They're bad for society. They don't care about normal people. I will save you.
Yeah. But Drake also angered a lot of other fan bases. So they were like looking for somebody to take him down.
Yeah.
And they migrated over. There was the Meg base. There was the Rihanna base. There's the Jay-Z base.
Pusha T base.
Pusha T base.
He couldn't get the job done. We got to get this other guy. Yeah.
Joe Budden fans.
Yeah.
Ebro fans. Well, I don't know if there's Ebro fans, but just real hip hop fans and all that.
But anybody, I mean, you see this, you know, I noticed the same sentiment simmering towards like Timothy Chalamet. like, hey, you're super popular, good looking. You seem like a great guy. Everybody seems like they like you. God, I just can't wait to find something to take you down with.
Yeah.
And he's only been out here hot for a little while.
I thought Bobby Altoff got that too. I thought like I didn't know what she did.
But she's the definition of being put into a role that she in no way had earned or had any sort of valid claim to, which I fuck with her. I think she seems like a cool person. I think that she kind of got a raw deal, but and obviously you just don't turn down a Drake interview, even if you are at the very beginning of your career. But like I saw that conversation playing out with her and him because that's why they fell out really, is because she kind of told him like, hey, like my life is kind of fucked up ever since I interviewed you. And he's kind of like, I did the best thing that anyone has ever done for you your entire life. And you're telling me that this is a problem? Like, what the fuck is wrong with you? But from
my phone.
But from her perspective, she was a chick with like 1 million TikTok followers where fame was only good for her. Yeah. And then all of a sudden she does this Drake interview and it opens the floodgates of like, bitch, we are on you. You suck. You're out of here. Boom.
Yeah. Nah, I think she's really talented. So much so that I think Joe said he wanted to sign her. But
did he really say that?
He said that. He said that.
That's interesting.
I as hard as it's tricky to navigate, there's a minefield and you don't know how much any of it is real. And sometimes in the reaction, you actually make things worse, which is why like people who've handled cancellation are to be monitored, like Mr. Beast handled that shit real well. To the point where the person who exposed them got canceled. And I think, I don't know, it seems like just don't say nothing is the right way, but our minds, the way minds work in content, it never seems to play out that way.
Yeah, like if Rory had not really responded to those tweets and stuff, he probably would have been able to move past that shit so much easier. But like the thing about it is that Rory just hasn't really been canceled before, so he doesn't really, this is like a pretty new experience for him, I think.
But that way, what's the dirt too? The same thing similar happened is like, imagine if, I don't have that ability either to like just shut things. I'm trying to develop it, but just like shut the internet off. I'm gonna keep making content. Rory could just spin this. I signed with Netflix now, and you just keep the things moving. And now he's in an ecosystem where all my views drop. I'm on Netflix.
Yeah, I mean, if Rory had waited a couple of days and then talked about it on the podcast for 5-10 minutes,
dudes was calling him, "Yo, get the off the space."
Yeah.
And he was like, my mom called me. Why didn't you listen? Like, why didn't you listen?
Yeah. But he was geeked up in that moment, bro. He was just like really just in his, you know, it's tough. Like you don't know what to fucking say when you're in that position because you've never been in this position before and you don't know what it's like. Because normally in your life, there's one style of like rational communication, which is just to basically like be yourself. If you got something to say it. Try to be nice. Yeah. This advice does not work when you have a mob outside your house. When there's like 100 people outside your house with pitchforks, you just don't get to like go outside and be like, "Hey guys, like, do it or don't, man. Like whatever." Like, you know, it's just that attitude is not going to work in that environment. You know,
he played himself, but I think he knows, and he's not. He's deleted his Twitter, hasn't been back since.
That's crazy. You think he might really be like done with Twitter?
He should never come back, man. I think he should never come back.
He should never come back.
But that's,
I told What's the Dirt to stay off Twitter.
And he didn't listen. He came back.
He kept going. And no, this is like before he got canceled.
Oh, okay.
I was like, I told him, be a person who is known for making really great YouTube content and let all the people out there know that they can't bait you into drama, that they can't coax you out of your hole. You need to seem bigger than the program. Probably some of these are words that I didn't actually say, but this was the sentiment that I was trying to get across. Like, let them know that you're not crawling down to argue with them. And if you are going to crawl down and argue with them, that's content, that's a video, that's a 10-minute video that you can monetize arguing with your haters. Don't be quote tweeting motherfuckers on Twitter. It's not going to work out good for you. I feel like he definitely took a hit. I mean, this is a guy who had a 10 million view YouTube video.
What's taking a hit though?
I think he was kind of like more beloved, and that when this scandal went down, that he sort of got put more in the like, oh, let's fuck this guy, let's hate on him. And I think, you know, his views have like gone down a lot since then, but I kind of do think that was inevitable, and that
I think there's a larger conversation about views. I feel like everybody's views is dropping though. So I don't know if his views are any worse than other people. I think a lot of people are tired of the Drake bash, like Drake is evil. And you see that with Elliott Wilson. They kind of worn out their welcome because of the same regurgitated takes. And you see that with who else? Ebro and all these guys. Like, we've seen you say this for the last 3 years. It's time to move on. Yeah. But a lot of people's views are bad, and I think YouTube's making big changes too. Yeah.
Well, I saw you saying that YouTube basically like counts views differently now. You're assuming. Why do you say that?
Did I say that? Did I say they count views differently?
I saw you saying that about some. You're responding to something you said that YouTube has changed something with how they count views, which I instinctively tend to agree with. But you know, maybe I'm just agreeing with that because it gives me a little bit more of an excuse for why our views is not as good as they used to be. Yeah.
I think it's not an excuse when it's measured across several platforms, but I do think the AI portion of it is something they're kind of jiggering with. I believe like they're just trying to find out what works. They're thinking about think pieces in a different way. There's so much content that they have to decide what to feed people, and it's different than even like 2 years ago. And now with the rise of AI content, it's like, how do you rank these people? How do you rank the AI channel that's talking about no jumper against actual no jumper content?
Yeah. And I mean, people are losing views on stuff like podcasts to a lot of different things because, you know, you have people making sort of documentary style content about your content or similar content. That's inevitably going to, you know, take people away from it. But I really feel like short form content is probably the biggest enemy of the podcasting world, just because that is the number one thing that I think is like sucking up a lot of people's time and attention. And it's understandable because even for somebody like me, you know, sometimes I get home and I look through my whole YouTube feed and I think about like, oh, okay, I'm going to watch one of these videos. And then I'm like, you know, maybe I'm just going to look at TikTok instead. Yeah. You know, it's like, and I feel like to the younger generation, bro, if you're a kid in high school, I'm willing to bet that like almost every kid in high school who has a smartphone is watching short form content, and that a very small percentage in comparison are listening to hour-long podcasts or 4-hour-long podcasts, you know?
I don't know any 14-year-old who's watching a Rogan or even a Joe Budden or a No Jumper pod for 2 hours.
I walk down the street and I see 3 Mexican construction dudes all sitting there eating their lunch, drinking Red Bull. They all had a Red Bull. And they're all on their phone looking at either TikTok or Reels. Do these guys watch podcasts? I'm kind of guessing no. I'm kind of guessing that TikTok and like maybe like TV or Netflix is like enough for them, you know?
Well, they don't waste your time, man. A lot of these content people now, they waste your time. It used to be that you could just drop a 3-hour pod and people just lock in. Like in the pandemic, I think that was the peak of that. I remember my brother saying like, yo, I just want content to pass the time. But now what's passing your time is that short form. And that's a threat to even the think piecers, because even though we make 10-minute videos, now there's people making 1-minute videos breaking down beefs between each other. But even I have invested in short form now, and we'll see how that goes. It's general. That's one of the big changes I want to make for 2026 is looking at short form, looking at ways to make long videos as well, and thinking about what other podcasts I can talk about. I kind of did that this year with Earn Your Leisure, Ebro, Rory and Mal, and Charlemagne. So I feel like I'm growing past that niche. But
no, I think you've been doing a good job of that for sure. Because you're a good commentator, generally speaking, and the Joe Budden thing is dope, but clearly you have an aspiration to be able to do more. Yeah. But yeah, like honestly, these days, like we all know the feeling of somebody telling you that they're going to start a podcast. You know, it's like a pretty common feeling that we all sort of go through. Is, hey, I'm going to start a podcast. Like when someone says that to me now, I have almost like a feeling of repulsion because you, as a regular person, as a non-celebrity, as a non-public intellectual, you not you, but like someone,
I get it.
The hubris that it takes to think that anyone is going to sit there and listen to your fucking thoughts for 2 hours is absurd. Like it's just so unlikely. But on your phone, you have TikTok, and it's almost like I feel like you should graduate out of TikTok or Reels in order to be even having a podcast. Like I want to see you get to 100,000 followers on these short form platforms before I'm going to even consider the possibility that you could be successful as a long form content creator. Because if you can't wake up in the morning and think of a thought in your head that you want to get across to the world that you can represent in a 30-second format, you have zero chance of being able to do a good 10-minute version of that thought.
The shit, I mean, that makes me think about New York City, where like people are booking Mandy and Weezy Studio for like $400, $500 and doing podcasts that no one watches.
Yeah,
I'm like, you could easily
shout out my homegirls. Yeah,
those are your homegirls.
Yeah,
man, Mandy and me hate each other. It's escalated. It's escalated.
I fuck with them. They have been to my house, or Weezy has. Yeah, but I've done a bunch of podcasts with them over the years and shit. But yeah, I mean, listen, podcast is a male-dominated industry.
Yeah.
So I don't think them girls should be all that surprised that their shit ain't really moving like that. You know?
You mean the podcast?
I mean, they make girl-centric podcast content.
Yeah.
Girls don't be listening to podcasts like that. Girls watch TikToks.
Yeah. And I just wonder, and it does feel like their audience is older, but I wonder how long that you can pod with somebody you don't like, but they've done it so well. And maybe one day we'll get to the bottom of it. But like I said, with these, when people tell me they're going to start a pod, or even times where I wanted to start a pod, I was like, why the fuck do I want to start a pod? I remember me and Julian were considering doing a pod, and I was like, at one point, I was like, that's just stupid. Like, and I didn't want to do that. Like,
you are one person, though, because, okay, I have No Jumper, the crazy, ridiculous gangster soap opera. Yeah. Sometimes I have a desire to have like more regular hip hop conversations or media conversations, and that's why I've always kind of resented the fact that you live in New York, because I feel like you are someone that I feel like I could speak to on a weekly basis about topics on a level that doesn't necessarily involve us, screaming at each other and shit like that, which is kind of my bread and butter. Yeah. But then when I see like, oh, okay, Ebro and Rosenberg and them are doing a podcast, and they don't get a space, they just zoom, and that's how they do it. So now that's kind of what I've been thinking, is like, maybe I should start thinking bigger and stop confining myself to just doing podcasts with people who live in the Los Angeles area, and maybe I should start a weekly podcast that is kind of like a bunch of different people from all over the country, and that would work.
Yeah, I saw who was it that did that? Justin Hunt, where it was like, what was it called? Where he had basically all of the people who hate Drake together, but they had big audiences. Yeah, and that seemed to work. I think
I should check that out.
If you have like maybe people who don't f- with you, people with you arguing about shit, that might go real well. It'd probably be a lot cheaper, and it would answer your talent issue, right? Because you could get talent from anywhere versus just the people who are in your scope.
Yeah, I mean, like if you don't have, part of the magic of No Jumper, I think, is just the fact that like crazy stuff happens when you're face to face. But if you're doing a podcast with people who are not the kind of people that are gonna scream at each other or like whatever, like, then really it's not that big a deal that they're around each other.
You ever thought of other types of content, like when Rory and Mal did the DJ Head Mall debate, or the 20, what's that thing that Jubilee does, like 20?
Yeah,
that some people do that. Yeah,
I've thought about it a bunch, but like one night I remember doing like a deep, sometimes you're just unhappy with your content. So you start really looking at other people's content, and you start really thinking like, what else can I do? There's all these other people doing successful shit. What could I do? And I'm looking at Jubilee, and I'm pitching, because it was actually because I listened to an interview with one of the people who runs Jubilee, and they were talking about all these copycat channels that they have, which I didn't know. I'm just not like deep enough in the Jubilee. But I've seen some of them since then. Mm-hmm. But then I was also looking at like Patrick CC or like Trap Lord Ross, and I was kind of thinking like these channels do very similar views, but the overhead for running Jubilee in comparison to like what business would you rather run? Would you rather have Patrick CC's business where he pumps out like one good commentary video per week, gets 1 million views, probably pays like a small team of editors and writers, but overall his expense is probably pretty low? Or would you rather do Jubilee where maybe you put out 1 million view video every week, but your expenses are getting 20 people to come here, booking fucking Charlie Kirk or whoever, Tucker Carlson, whoever you got to get this week. I mean, this is not free or easy. I mean, I don't know, just like taking on the weight of doing something like what Jubilee does seems kind of insane, especially once you realize how much people sue you. Yeah. Then you're really going to start thinking twice about having 50 fucking random people come to the spot that you own. Yeah,
that's a good point. I never think about that because I more like Trap Lord Ross than I am like Jubilee. But I feel like and probably the truth is in the middle somewhere. But it was also like those guys like Patrick CC, Too Lazy to Try, they get a lot of views, but it's like you got to develop a voice, and sometimes the voice that you develop, the audience may not really care about it, or they might have a pre-existing notion where they just click off. That's one thing I think, like if I did a Joe Rogan video, like how would I stand out? How would I matter? How would I be different than my Joe Budden content? And those guys like Too Lazy to Try, they're an authority on these subjects. I think they watch these podcasts in and out, whereas if you're like some interloper who just watches the pod, it's going to come across like that. Like I think about when I did videos about No Jumper, I ain't know shit about all these beefs. Yeah. And I was like, it's going to look so different watching this video, me talking about AD and Sharp versus somebody else talking about this video, talking about AD and Sharp.
But I did feel like you were pretty knowledgeable about all these characters at that time. But yeah, I mean, it is all about like who can have the actual best takes because you know when Too Lazy to Try got me, when I was like, okay, this is a valuable platform, is when they started talking about how Joe Rogan kept hyping up AI music to his audience, to his guests, where like multiple different clips of him talking to his guests and hyping up this fucking random AI like soul singer. Oh, cool. Who is like the person who made the AI had him performing Many Men by 50 Cent.
I remember that. Yeah.
And it's like, you know, it's hilarious seeing Joe Rogan be this like ancient fucking boomer who's just so hyped on this AI music that is such garbage. And I'm like, damn, like that is such a great thing that he just got dibs on making a video about. But think about how many hours of Joe Rogan he had to watch to actually notice these like 6 times that someone brought that up. Like that's pretty impressive to me, especially when you consider that this is someone who like he apparently doesn't really like Joe Rogan's content, but he's watching that much of it in order to just be able to sort of make a video tearing it down. Like I take the content in a different way. I'm going to watch this video that you made about it. I'm not watching the original content, but if you like, that's when Flacco told me, like one time Flacco hit me up about something that somebody said about me on some random podcast. I'm like, why are you watching that? And he's like, this is what I do. He's like, I just wake up in the morning and watch random podcasts and just look for the gold. And I'm like, that's insane.
But that's working for him.
It's working,
Yeah, he the reason why his content about that type of content is because he's watching the content, and it's gonna be different than the person who's just like, all right, send me the thing and I'll talk about it.
Yeah, if you're making the video about something, by the time it hits Twitter and it's viral on Twitter, you're way too late.
Yeah, because I was thinking about when my Mark Lamont Hill Queenzflip video came out, right? Shigs had just dropped his. Flacco had just dropped his, and it's like, damn, I don't know if I'm going to be able to compete with them. I dropped mines, and for the first time, I'm able to beat them. And it's like, is it because
your authority?
Yeah, is it because the way I talk about it is backed up by all these hundreds of videos where I talked about it, or is it because YouTube understands this audience might like my video more? It's always a fun thing to think about because I always am like, how do I get to be like Flacco, where he can make videos about things that maybe he doesn't care about, or maybe he does care about, I don't know.
Just way outside of his usual wheelhouse. Like if he does no jumper shit or 4 extra or crit mag or whatever, it's like that's his easy shit. But he told me that it's like, he'll get a lot more subscribers when he covers something outside of his usual realm, but then he'll get more views if he does his usual beat. Yeah,
but I think that's Flacco's credit. Like he makes things that maybe he doesn't follow sound real, just like the stuff he does follow.
Yeah.
And the stuff that he's actually immersed in.
Like I'll click on a video of him talking about some streamer and I'll be like, so you're seriously telling me that you're like this invested in Jay Cinco's life, but you've never mentioned him to me, never mentioned him in the group chat, but I'm watching this YouTube video of you talking about him like you care so much and like all of his friends, everything about this guy. And I'm just like, what is this? Like how many other things are you interested in that I don't know about?
He's good at that. And
Shut up, Flacco.
Yeah. Is Flacco still on No Jumper? I feel like I don't see him no more.
So he moved to Texas to get a surgery. And
was that talked about on the show?
Yeah, we talked about it, but we don't really know if he's gonna come back necessarily. Like he's been saying that he was coming back, but is that a real thing, or is that just like, was that the original plan? Because it's like it has been kind of weird. Like I almost like didn't notice how different things feel without Flacco because he was such a consistent presence on the news and everything, So I actually don't know if he's going to come back. But the original plan was for him to come back.
So Flacco, Munchie, there's a little bunch of loose ends.
But the Flacco thing is not about anything like that happened or anything with us. It's just he said he was going to get this thing done for a period of time.
We're in Texas, though. It's like Dallas.
I don't know. It's been a long time since Texas even got mentioned. I think it was Texas though.
I gotta hit him up because I'll be in Texas too. But I think that he's got to figure it out, and I at some point would like to see if I could start doing different things. But 2026 will present new challenges. I'm also growing my business. I like to consult people now, so if anybody wants consultation, feel free to reach out.
Really? So you've had some luck with people wanting consulting?
Yeah, man. I don't want to say who, but just there's people who have reached out.
No, that's a good bag. Actually, I have a friend who is basically doing consulting for a YouTube channel, and he basically kind of tells them what they should make videos about. And it's not like he's not doing everything for him, but he's kind of laying it out there for him, which is working out pretty good, I think.
I think some people just like sometimes talking to me about things. Not that I'm going to have the answer, but they like going through the thought process. And I know people present me as like some evil, diabolical genius who tortures the Joe Budden podcast. I think I shouldn't have thrown genius in there, but like evil, diabolical villain. I feel like people like to have discussions about content, and if anybody's open to it, feel free to let me know. And I do it on my Twitter Spaces. I give people ideas.
Right.
I tell people what to do in terms of what. Now I don't tell them what to do. I tell them what to think about. So.
So do you feel like I've been noticing though that you've been dropping podcasts on your channel. These sort of long, hour-long.
Oh, that's my spaces.
Oh, so those are just the spaces. Okay.
Yeah,
the thumbnails are making me think it's
tight that I would have these crazy-ass conversations on spaces, and I would leave them on my Patreon or my Twitter, and I was like, this needs to find a way to YouTube. And I was like, I need to create visualizations. I didn't know how to make. I know it sounds stupid, but I didn't know how to make visualizers. But I was like, is this better than actually sitting down and recording a pod? I think so.
You think it is?
I think if it does the same amount of views, if it gets clipped up, how is it any more less valuable than a pod?
No, I was totally I mean, there's something that I've been wanting to do, which is we're getting a little inside baseball here, but like at one point there was a stream that I did on Instagram Live. This is when I still had Instagram Live. I've been banned for years. But it was like, I'm just adding people. Like, I'm adding J Main, I'm adding Crit Mag. We're like, all these people coming in and out of it. And I'm kind of trying to like recreate that on YouTube. But the problem is that if you say, hey, I want to just bring people in who are already in this Twitter space or whatever, then you're kind of like restricting yourself to just the people that are already like super invested in this content, And I feel like the great thing about Instagram Live is that this is like normies. This is just like any old person could just end up in this Instagram Live. But the Twitter space is interesting because I remember like, I don't know if he does it a lot, but like Academics used to do a lot of streams where he would be on Clubhouse, or I don't know if it was like a Discord call or something, but like he'd be talking to like a lot of people. But then I feel like he doesn't do that anymore.
Yeah, I mean that here's the thing with that is when you talk to a lot of people, that leaves you open to a lot of liability, I think, and not necessarily that. Like I know with me, you kind of can create copycats or clones that take your style, and like people used to take my spaces and put it on YouTube. And I was like, that's my stuff. Like, don't put my stuff on YouTube. And I know people are gonna say Joe Budden Pod, but I think it's different when you take somebody's whole space and post it. And you're also opening up to like maybe bad faith actors. And I think maybe that could be why academics stopped, because then you could create people who then use that type of interaction with you against you.
Yeah.
And leverage it as something else for them to grow. And they may try to put you in positions where you look stupid, or try to create conflict with you in order to say, I got one up on academics.
But if you're going to do that kind of content, I think you got to like wall it off to a certain extent. Like you can't just be podding with everybody. You got to like,
I got my crew. Yeah,
cultivate a group that you're comfortable with. Yeah.
Yeah, I definitely got my crew of people that I feel comfortable with speaking. Sometimes it's hard because, when Joe Budden's on stage or when Mark Lamont is on stage, you see people act different. Like I'm talking about, like they start trying to be like, talk to Joe, try to get conversations with Joe. And it's like, I understand that. I think it's cool when other people speak, but in content, it's a lot of social climbing that can occur. Yeah.
Well, so from your perspective, is there really any value in a podcast versus a Twitter space? That's the real question that you're kind of getting at. Is like, listen, like quality matters to a certain extent. Like I would much rather see. I would be much more inclined to become a fan of a podcast where I get to see nice, crispy visuals of all the people talking. Whereas just hearing the audio, like I feel like Whack 100. Whack 100 is a good example. He does Clubhouse all the time, and then he does like No Jumper. And it feels like the clips from No Jumper are like much more likely to spread because it feels higher quality than a Clubhouse clip where you really have to be invested to listen to this sort of like bad audio quality.
Yeah, well, Whack I don't think his infrastructure for his spaces or Clubhouse, which is the same thing, is as good. Like I don't know if he has a clipper clipping his stuff. And I think if you put them on YouTube, they probably get crazy views too, right?
I feel like he does put it on YouTube.
I didn't know that.
I don't really pay attention to his Clubhouse content. I'm talking generally, yeah.
Did he ever deal with Clubhouse? Because everybody said it. I don't think he ever did one, but I don't know.
Not that I know of. I mean, he's talked about how he was getting money on there, but I don't really 100% know how or if that's like a real thing. I think he was like getting sponsorship. I remember like the first time I went on his Clubhouse, everybody had like a 6ix9ine graphic for like their Clubhouse room or whatever. It was like I don't know, it was like this is some weird marketing strategy maybe that like 6ix9ine's team had put into place, I guess.
Well, I feel like he's leaving a lot of opportunity on the table for him to create better structured clubhouses that he disseminates with a better mic and all that. But
no, it's possible, but I mean this guy, I mean, I don't know. Whack, he's in his own.
Shout out to Whack. I feel like that's appointment viewing for No Jumper, the Whack and Adam show, the Adam and Whack show.
Yeah. I mean, it's weird. It goes through a lot of like ups and downs in terms of like what we have to talk about. It feels like it kind of, people are, their interest in it kind of has like an ebb and flow thing.
Oh, you mean the fans?
Yeah.
Okay.
Like when there is like a lot of podcasts feel like it doesn't matter what they talk about and the views are going to be pretty consistent.
Yeah.
I would not say that is my feeling on the Adam and Whack thing. Like when we have something like really important to discuss, we can get 300K. And if we're talking about some shit that is not so important to discuss, we'll get like 100K. And if we have a guest, a lot of times we'll do less than that even.
Nice. I think that is good observations by you. But that's a testament to how YouTube has changed.
Yeah.
I think back when you was with AD and the crew, like anything y'all did was getting crazy views.
Oh yeah, I go back and I see the views on some stuff and I'm like,
why?
I'm like, I had this random group of people together and we potted about nothing for 3 hours and I got those views. And it's weird because it's like, the truth is that part of it is just No Jumper not being as popular, I guess. But like then there's also the part of it of this is YouTube now. Like when I look back at some random episode that I did 3 years ago and it has 600K, And I just like I try to picture that episode with that same cast right now, and I'm like, that shit would do 100K max.
Yeah.
And that just is it's very hard to like sort of cram that into your brain.
Everything. Timing is everything. When you strike. Jake's gonna get his ass whipped in every bit, but there's no way he's not gonna.
Yeah, I don't. All of his fights seem like they really made sense, and then this one just seems like really kind of out of left field. But I guess he was asking for it for a while.
Well, he wanted to fight Gervonta Davis, which was a dude that was pretty like 5'6" or something, and now he's going the other way. But it was interesting seeing them face off yesterday. I don't know if you saw them, and seeing like the difference in size and also the strength.
He's so much bigger and stronger.
And they were like doing that thing where they were like grabbing each other's hand, and then like you could see Joshua is so much stronger.
Yeah, that's terrifying. Like, all of a sudden, I'm very, very invested in this because I'm just like, what are you doing, dude? Like, the whole Jake Paul thing seems like it's just been so well crafted. Yeah, and then I have a hard time imagining how this is like a brilliant chess move.
Well, it's the business behind it that makes everything he does a good chess move, right? Doesn't he own all of this stuff? And
no, for sure, he's gonna make tens of millions of dollars, probably, for sure. But it seemed like he always was good at going against someone where it seemed interesting enough, but where ultimately he knew he could win. Yeah. And I don't really understand how this one goes in that direction. But hey, maybe we're gonna look like idiots because this will probably be out after the fight actually takes place. Okay. Yeah, I don't think we'll look like idiots. I think it's tomorrow. So for sure. Today. Today? Yeah. It's tonight. I think it's today. Let me see. Oh, hell yeah. That's gonna be sick. Yeah, I think it's today. I'm excited. I love boxing, so yeah. I don't really, but I'm not even open. I know the boxing purists hate Jake Paul. I don't hate Jake Paul. I think a lot of the fighters have been kind of douchebag dudes sometimes, and they've engaged in like circus show acts too. So why not Jake? And he's like really taking it serious, so I can't be mad at it. You know, okay, the main card starts at 8 p.m. East Coast time tonight, which means 5 o'clock East. But then the main card starts. So Jake Paul will go on at 10:30 p.m. East Coast time, which is 7:30 p.m. here. Nice. I'm excited. Yeah. Wow. But yeah, that's recording? Good. Right now? Yeah. We could just include this. Retention. I mean, it's not gonna necessarily have them on the hook too much. Since they're already gonna know who won at this point. But you know. Yeah. Take out my part where I was by myself, editor, please. I didn't really carry it. Yeah. Oh, okay, but I apologize. No. Yeah, content is crazy. Like I've been thinking about I've been here for 4 years, which is crazy to me. So you've been here for how long? I was trying. I was showing my brother the clip of you and Munchie, and I was like, people always make fun of this, and I was like, Adam 22. I told him this would be so much more intimidating if he acted this way all the time, right? Because he's actually like a bigger dude in person. And then I was like. My brother asked me like, did he always kind of do this content? I was like, no, he actually used to do old like biking content. And I showed him like the old biking content, and he was like, so like, whoa. But my brother's like doesn't pay attention to any of this. So he was like, and I was like, yeah, he lived in Williamsburg. I was like, damn, man, it's like, so this guy's been around doing all types of stuff. And just like everybody's journey on YouTube is interesting. Like seeing you in Williamsburg, Brooklyn, it's freaking crazy to me. I mean, I'm not gonna lie, like the one biggest regret that I have, just in general, everything content wise, I just wish I had started it earlier, you know. But one thing that really like just gnaws away at me when I really think about it sometimes is like I used to really have this vision where I was gonna go and do content with rappers and then like take my bike riding footage and put it, you know, together with the rappers. So it would be like I would just have a rapper freestyling, and then I would put all my BMX footage that I had filmed that month over it. And I would like message rappers. I would actually like message my MySpace or email them or whatever. And I always loved this idea. And it's like, I just wish that I had like done that one time, because I would have realized that it wasn't that hard to go do content with a rapper. Because I'm a white kid from New Hampshire. Like I just grew up thinking that like Freeway is a fucking god. Like that I have no business trying to talk to Freeway. You know, I have no business trying to, like, how could I ever email Jim Jones or some shit,
Yeah.
you know, which is like at that time, those are the people that I would have really wanted to do content with. And I just wish that I had like put my neck out there because I knew that I had enough knowledge to do BMX content, but I didn't have the confidence that I knew enough about rap to do content, which what you really need is you don't need the actual knowledge. You just need to have the confidence to do it, you know?
Yeah, I feel like that's the conundrum for every YouTuber, every podcaster that doesn't start, is they feel like I don't have what it takes, or I don't not knowledgeable. Or you compare yourself to someone else that you might have saw on TV and be like, this guy who talks about it. I know with me, I have a similar story where I was like, why didn't I start when they were breaking up?
Yeah.
If I had started my YouTube channel right when Rory and Mal were breaking up with Joe, oh my God, I would be like 100,000, maybe 200,000 subs up, because not that subs is the most important thing nowadays, but that was when my voice would have been needed, really. And it might be another moment like that coming for me soon, but who knows? But that was a big mistake on my part. And
another moment, wait, when Queenzflip gets fired? Who's getting, like, I'm trying to think of what the next big no jumper moment. I mean, Melissa Ford Leon was kind of a big deal.
Yeah,
right?
that was a big deal. That was a big deal. I just think Rory and Mal and Joe's breakup is the biggest thing ever. It's like, even like, I saw somebody talking about it. It colors every podcast decision, even outside of the space in which it existed. And it mimics, and it's like the George Washington story of him crossing the river is like almost adjacent to Julius Caesar crossing the Rubicon. Like every story follows that parallel after. And even y'all breakup was compared to that. Deez and Merle's breakup was compared to that. Julian and Rory's breakup was compared to that. That is the one that I should have been out there.
Yeah, but okay.
Yeah.
See, that pisses me off because it's like Rory and Mal, why did they leave? Money.
Yeah.
They wanted more ownership, or they felt like they were not getting a honest glimpse into the business from Joe Budden, right?
Yeah.
Nobody could say that they left because of money.
For you?
Yeah.
Okay.
It's just like, no, I never really like the AD thing, like that wasn't about money. That was just about him trying to like do his own thing.
Yeah.
But then they masked it with this idea that I had done something to them, but then ultimately when it comes down to it, they can't actually explain.
Well, Adam, they were what the culture's feeling.
They felt like that, which is why it's so funny. Looking at their views now, it's like, but that actually is a weirdly consistent thing because Rory and Mal left.
Yeah.
And it's like, they get what, maybe 20K per episode?
Well, back then they were doing like 50, 60. Now it's like 20, 30.
Yeah, that's dark. I'm not gonna lie, that's pretty rough. But same thing with AD and them. Like they thought they were gonna leave and do better than No Jumper. Now they get like 20K a stream.
Well, it's hard to delineate. I feel like when you're on a platform, it's hard to tell what's you and what's that. Like what's the platform? Like when Stuart Scott's on ESPN, how much of it is ESPN? How much of it is Stuart Scott? There's some people who shine that it's like it's undeniable. Like I think Mark Lamont, Brick Baby. Who would have put them in the same? But yeah, but there's other people who are like the infrastructure, being able to record and it look good, and you know the money's coming in. Like I really struggle to know what Ebro is gonna do without that Hot 97 check. How is Rosenberg, Laura gonna be able to stand without that Hot 97 banner, even though it's lost a lot of its luster? These platforms really help people stick together, even though maybe they shouldn't. Yeah.
Oh, wait, so okay. I'm gonna look. Ebro,
Laura Rosenberg
show.
Yeah, they did like 3 episodes.
So they've done, I think 2 episodes, right? Okay, 2 episodes. So first one
killed it.
113K. Second one 50K. That's not great. I'm not gonna lie. That's that at the rate that that's going, they're gonna be in the 20K club too pretty soon. Which I just wonder, like, where do you see them fitting in? Do you think that they will average 100,000 an episode at any point? No. Okay.
I don't know.
Do you think they'll average 50K per episode? Because if the second, like, okay, historically, when you leave a platform, I think it's fair to say that your first episode on a new platform will do at least 10,000 times, or no, excuse me, at least 10 times what your content will average out to. Meaning
10,000. They're saying they're gonna do 10,000.
I mean, okay, I think about Rory and Mal.
Yeah.
I think if you go back to their first episode, Just them?
Yeah.
What is it, like 500,000 maybe?
Yeah, I think it was a little more.
Maybe a little more, yeah.
700,000 or something, because it was the first episode back.
And then they end up settling into something that is actually less than 10%. So
761,000.
Yeah.
And they started, I think 70,000 was a good accurate.
So they're actually really doing like 5% of what their original first episode. And okay, Fig Community, they left. I think their first episode was 500K.
Yeah.
Now they average 50K on the group pod that they do together. So that's like 10%, you know? I think that honestly, that's pretty fucked up, because that means that Ebro and them are going to be trying to like create a business out of a podcast that, I mean, I'll give them the benefit of the doubt and say maybe it settles in at 20K. But if they're doing it every day,
that's going to be tough, man. I feel like
then it's really going to degrade. That's not like, oh, it's going to get better. No, that's like it's going to degrade, I think.
Yeah, it just looks like the rollout was weird, because they were initially trying to keep Ebro in the mornings, and they changed it to Ebro, Laura, Rosenberg, which I think they know they couldn't keep. But I don't see them being able to stick out. I don't see them doing anything different than what they did on Hot 97, and without the guests coming through, without the promotion and all that stuff, it's going to be very difficult. But at the end of the day, I don't think they're that engaging. I don't think that their takes are going to be like, remember Juan Epstein?
Oh yeah.
Cypher Sounds and Rosenberg continue to do that.
It gets a couple thousand views a episode. I went and looked the other day. I was talking to somebody about it, and I was just like, dude, like Juan Epstein, 2,000 views on a full episode. Granted, probably does better on audio platforms.
Can't be doing that much better.
Yeah. That's pretty bad.
Well, they've done things to their brand that was really weird. I remember they did like this narrative podcast. I was about how great Jay-Z is, and I was like, what the fuck is this dumb shit?
Oh, I kind of vaguely recall that. But I remember, because Juan Epstein, which it feels like almost nobody remembers besides me and maybe you and like, you know, other people who are really like focused on that early podcast era. I remember them folding it up or hanging it up and just deciding like, oh, okay, we can't compete. And that's when like their biggest competition, like the only podcast that they were really competing against was like Joe and Combat Jack, which when you look back at that, this is like I think that they hung it up in like 2016, 2017, the very early days of podcasting. But I mean, to be fair, they probably saw the writing on the wall and realized that they weren't going to be able to compete with everybody.
Yeah.
But I mean, shit, like, doesn't it look now like it would be better to have a podcast that was, you know, the 8th most popular New York podcast than to just be like trying to start from scratch? Yeah. Like, I don't know. Rosenberg always like rubbed me a weird way, because he was somebody that I kind of like looked up to just from a podcasting perspective. And then like he hits me up in like 2017. He's with me. He's such a fan. He's so impressed. Comes through, does the interview, good solid interview, and then he just like unfollows me at some point and doesn't even say anything about it. And I've like, I think I heard a clip of him one time saying like, oh, like, you know, I don't like what No Jumpers kind of become with a lot of the crazy antics or whatever. Like, I'll give a but I mean, I don't know. It's just weird how people like come in, because I think at that time he thought like that he was a radio guy. Yeah. And it's like, no, at some point you're going to become just a YouTube content creator too, and then you're going to be like looking at this shit like, oh, why is my audience like 10% of his when he's got all these stripes as a hip-hop content creator, I guess.
Yeah, these guys, the radio guys, always talk about like where they see media going, and they never seem to know where media is going.
Yeah.
Like I saw Ebro a couple months ago say like, yo, the way this station is going, I don't know how long, but it'd be here. And then when he gets laid off, he acts shocked. I was like, like, and that whole thing would tell me they weren't prepared to start a YouTube channel. And I don't think they'll be together past 7 months.
You think 7 months? Because that's like question is like, if they do a podcast and it actually gets 10,000 views per episode, it's going to be really difficult to get sponsors.
Yeah.
Even with like all of their experience, they probably have a bunch of relationships with brands that are like going to be the kind of brands like, I think the thing that could save them and help maybe keep it afloat a little bit is like, if they are just able to utilize their network of connections to get guests consistently. Like at first I saw Ebro tweeting like, oh, I got Tyler the Creator. And I was like, oh, and then Apple. I realized that was the Apple thing. Yeah. So that's not like on that show, but a lot of that's got to carry over, right? Like, oh, Tyler, I've interviewed you 10 times on Apple Music. Will you do me and Rosenberg's show. I mean, it's possible, right?
Maybe you could get that off on Apple. I know certain platforms you can't be doing that, right? If I have somebody on No Jumper and then I'm like, yo, come to my show. You can
these motherfuckers do that shit all the time, man.
Yeah. Who? But nah, I don't think they talk about anything that unique. And even I was listening to how they used to have the music in the background. They used to have ether playing like underneath there. Like that matters to me. And I think it just looks and feels like a different type of thing now. It feels like a 2-bit production.
Yeah.
It feels like Juan Epstein.
Yeah. I mean, they just had a lot of like importance that was sort of layered upon their existence because of the radio thing. For me personally, like I lived in New York from 2004 to 2010.
Yeah, that's fire.
I never listened to the radio even then. Like even then I was buying mixtapes, downloading music off Nowrite and all these hip hop blogs. Never during that time period did I ever listen to the radio. And like you would hear it driving around and stuff, but like, I mean, it's just becoming so much less important. Yeah. But the idea that like these guys are gonna be able to like matter, like I would argue that even with like the power of the radio, that Rosenberg, like he's totally irrelevant, right?
Yeah, I feel like his biggest things are ESPN and WWE. But throughout my life, I never really met anybody like, you heard what Rosenberg said? It's never been like that.
No. I remember Rosenberg hosting Rolling Loud.
Okay.
In like 2016, 2017. It was like him and Yes Jules on stage.
Yeah.
And I remember just thinking like, nah, that ain't it. This ain't gonna work. And sure enough, he never did it again. But like that to me was crazy because like I'm looking at it and I'm seeing him host Rolling Loud and I'm like, oh, like he thinks he's me. Like he thinks that this audience gives a fuck about him. Yeah. And they don't at all.
Yeah, it's hard for them to think that there's YouTubers who are more valuable to the culture in terms of like certain subsets of music. Like they probably think academics should never get certain looks because they're from Hot 97 and they could never wrap their head around that Flacco might be more relevant to certain sections and they care more about the work he puts in. And I always felt like I don't know how much work these guys put in for them to talk down on people. Like they've been on Hot 97 all these years. The check always came on every other week. So
I mean, you got to give it to academics that his rant where he juxtaposed Ebro telling him that he was not actually independent and that actually he's a slave to YouTube and Twitch, and then hey, everybody go follow my YouTube channel. Like putting those two things side by side, that was
a classic performance.
You should not. I would hope that if I had some corporate job that I would not speak about it so boastfully that it would be that easy for my enemy to use it against me going forward. Like that's just, you didn't have to do that.
Those guys were like that though. They were arrogant when it came to that radio stuff. I mean, you could listen to the radio, you could listen to the way they used to run that station, the way they were hiring talent was very much like, you guys are supposed to be happy to be working at Mount Olympus. We could have other people. And this has kind of been fun to see this all. And it's even funny that Ebro sees Charlamagne with this $200 million deal. He sees Joe Budden kind of announcing that he makes $20 million a year off of Patreon only. And I can't help but think if they think like, man, I really fucked this up. Even I'm sure even with all of the negative things people have to say about you, their business model is stronger than theirs. Ag's business model is stronger than theirs. Flacco's business model is stronger than theirs. And they got to think like they was at the ground level. Juan Epstein was on Hot 97. Rosenberg said that he had a chance to produce for Drink Champs and the Joe Budden podcast. They could have really made a business out of this.
Nobody feels worse about all this than Rosenberg because he started the Joe Budden podcast. And you recall, I'm sure, these early episodes where I remember Joe like talking to him and he's like off mic and just talking to him like he's just a total flunky retard. And like Rosenberg just kind of having to take it. Yeah. And then he gets boxed out. He's like not a part of it like a month later. Yeah, that was fucking unbelievable.
He's like Noah from Twitter, right? they don't even know that he helped found the company and created the name. Yeah. But yeah, hey. That's what problems with legacy media is. People think it's always going to be around.
But that, I mean, just imagine how fucking fried you had to have been. Like any time in the last 10 years to look at YouTubers and look at independent content creators and to think, I work at the radio. My spot is never going away. Like y'all are some fucking peasants.
Yeah.
What I got going on, this shit ain't going nowhere.
It's like, yeah, I run newspaper. I write newspaper.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. I work at the Nashua Telegraph. Y'all can't tell me shit. Y'all are on YouTube. I work at the Telegraph.
Yeah,
Bro, but even that, like right there,
Yeah.
I was like not super close to it, but I remember the newspaper because I used to deliver the newspaper, and I used to sometimes like do a school field trip, go to the newspaper. Like,
It's funny.
it's right, like a fucking 5-minute drive from where I grew up.
Yeah.
And I would just look at it as this like prestigious fucking publication. And when I look at it now, like I go to the website or like hear about it, it's just like, holy like the local newspaper where I grew up has just been torn apart. There's
And
nothing
then you
left.
go on their site and they'd be like, please sign up to read. It's like, you're whoring yourself out.
You see The Paper?
Yeah.
The TV show?
Oh, no. Which one is that?
It's like it's like a sequel to The Office.
Oh, okay.
And I think it's on Apple Plus. Yeah. And it's about a local town newspaper that exists in the same universe as The Office. So Oscar's on it and Bob Vance is on it.
Yeah.
But it's like just about how pathetic basically it is to work at a newspaper in this day and age.
Yeah. It is very low key. And that was the thing about Hot 97 is I felt like in order to keep those jobs, you had to engage in some shady backroom stuff. Like there's been a lot of people who think that Ebro sniped the morning show from Rosenberg and Cypher. I don't know how true that is, but I do hear a lot about it. And even there's people are saying Funk Flex is now running with an iron fist because he gets the highest ratings. So shaky bakey.
I just think that they're feeling like they, there still is going to need to be one person who's able to tether them to the actual culture. And that apparently is Flex. And that they've realized that really ultimately what Rosenberg and Ebro bring to the table is not really that valuable. And that, you've all seen a lot of rumors about who they might be replacing him with or whatever. I mean,
What rumors? Like, did you see any tangible stuff?
well, I saw you talking about Miro, right?
Yeah, but I don't think that's real.
You don't think it's real?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. I feel as if they are going to go in a direction that's younger, but I don't know how serious Hot 97 can get unless they embrace YouTube. And that YouTube page is a little weird. Like they need to make whoa, we didn't even think about that. Breakfast Club going to YouTube, right? What if Hot 97 tries to fill that void? I mean, Breakfast Club going to Netflix.
No, yeah, totally.
Yeah,
I mean, that is kind of because, from my perspective, the Joe Rogan podcast kind of lost relevance when they were a Spotify
100%,
exclusive. Granted, obviously, I don't think Rogan resents that decision at all, but, and I'm sure that they continued to grow plenty of fans during that time, but for sure their reach was hurt. And when they came back, I am a lot more cognizant of like who is on the Joe Rogan podcast now. I'm a lot more likely to listen to an episode, even though in reality, I am not likely to listen to an episode of that podcast at this point in my life. But yeah, I mean, definitely I could see that the Breakfast Club, as much as it's being touted as a big look, it will decrease their relevance, right?
Yeah.
Like people go to Netflix, but people don't go to Netflix like Twitter or YouTube, right?
Yeah. And Netflix is probably suggesting the new episode of Stranger Things versus the new episode of Breakfast Club. And we'll see how they manage that.
Because I believe they'll give
Yeah.
the Breakfast Club a bunch of attention and a bunch of relevance on their platform. Maybe there's even like a separate podcast section that, when you scroll through and it's like coming soon section, historical documentary section. Yeah. I could see the podcast section lasting on the homepage for quite some time. But if they're not getting returns on it, if people aren't choosing to watch the Joe Budden podcast over a British Bake Off, I could see that section disappearing pretty quickly. And at that point, if Netflix isn't doing a lot to drive people to your content, pretty quickly it's going to become a situation in which your content is now on this siloed platform, but the promotion that you're getting is like almost non-existent. I mean, that's a tough. I think the Joe Budden's fans would switch platforms.
Yeah,
I don't know if the Breakfast Club fans are going to switch platforms.
This shit is a paywall. And I feel like it's not being positioned that way.
Yeah, because because Netflix has good branding. Yeah, look at Netflix as like a pretty cool platform that a lot of people have.
$300 million. 300 million subscribers spending $13 a month. It's just like a different beast. And what they have to incentivize is going to be crazy. I don't know, man. I think it's a bad idea, but I also think it's a great idea. It's prestige. It's a prestige play. But there's also, I think, what you kind of alluded to. What if Netflix is like, this shit is worthless? Like Spotify finds out. Like Spotify invested in all this pod.
Well, so that will almost without question happen. Not that it's worthless, but they're going to figure out the worth. The signing these platforms in the short term is worth so much more than what they're worth in the long run. So from my perspective, I mean, like, there's no chance that, like, whatever Charlamagne's getting for putting his content on Netflix or whatever all these people are getting, it is so much more than anybody will ever get. Again, like what Academics got from Spotify is so much more than anyone will ever get from Spotify again. They're just not giving those advances. The same way that Apple Music did exclusive releases with, you know, a couple of different albums, and then they just never did it again. They didn't have to once they got it out the way, you know?
Yeah, you make the machine more bigger than anything, like the program. I like that idea of the diminishing returns. We have these initial big deals that make a splash, and then we sell this shit.
Because really, what's part of the goal? The part of the goal is to get us to just pay attention to the fact that Netflix has podcasts.
And to compete with YouTube.
Yeah. But 2 years from now, nobody's going to give a shit. It's going to be, oh, yeah, Netflix has podcasts. Of course they have podcasts. They've had podcasts for a couple of years now. Why would they don't need to, like, broadcast it to the world in the same way anymore. And so in a couple of years, it'll just be like a distant memory. Remember when Charlamagne and all them, like, got money from... But maybe, like, Charlamagne's the only person who's, like, really benefiting from this. Like, do you think that Rory and Mal... Well, I guess that they all were having separate conversations. But, like, if it's more than a rev share, which it probably is, it's probably just an advance against the rev share, right?
For a smaller... Rev share?
I think in the long run, it becomes a rev share. Because Spotify's a rev share for people like us now.
Okay.
We get money from it, but it's not
in the long term. But right now, what deal has Netflix done when they've done rev share? Maybe... with Jake Paul and the NFL, or
well, you're right that they don't have a history of that. It's always an upfront, but like and they're paying iHeart. I think they're not. I don't think they're paying. But so Rory and Mal are with iHeart. They're with the volume, but Rory was saying on the pod today that they dealt with iHeart directly. But I know Rory's my guy. I sometimes think Rory is just so deathly afraid of being seen as side to iHeart that he just tries to act like iHeart is no part in his pod. But his pod says, brought to you by iHeart. So even though they're signed to the volume, iHeart and the volume are so intertwined that I don't know if he presents the deal in the way that... I'm not saying he's a liar, but I just don't know if the deal comes across like that. Do you think the Rory and Mal podcast has been a success overall? Or do you think that it's just being propped up by these sort of corporate deals that they get? Well, isn't signing a deal a success? I think if you keep able to get deals, it's a success. I guess. Yeah. But if you keep getting signed to different corporations who basically are helping to keep you alive by giving you an advance on the income that you're going to bring, and then you keep over and over and over proving that you're not actually able to deliver on this advance, and you're just basically being like passed around between different corporate overlords, is that success? Or is that like... Being able to survive can be a success, but I believe they said the cool thing, or maybe the crazy thing, is that Rory and Mal are pretty tapped in terms of the representation. I remember Mal saying Rich Paul was behind the Sirius deal. And I'm like, Rich Paul is crazy. Like, you have the guy who manages LeBron James. Right. Yeah. So it's like maybe they, by sheer force of goodwill, have laid in bed, I hope that's not a negative term, but are tied in with people that will always get them a deal just because of how cool people they are. Yeah, and I mean, they are, like, regardless of if their views are pretty bad, like, they're well known, like, loyal audience. Everybody knows about them. I think that they seem like they do a pretty good job of playing the game, being tapped in with the industry and everything like that. I feel like, in comparison, No Jumper obviously does like way more views, but I'm not really out here shaking hands and kissing babies. Yeah. I feel like Rory's a guy who like went to college, was able to play that game, worked professionally in the industry all these years. He was able to play that game. Yeah. He's going to be able to figure out the podcasting game I'm not so good at doing this.
They don't ruffle feathers really, so
Yeah.
they're able to get these deals. They're able to
They're
go to these
safe.
parties. Yeah, and I think one day if they ever fall out of a deal, we might see the unsafe version of them. But I don't think that's gonna happen. They had 3 deals, right? Sirius, Studio 71, and now they're on the Volume, aka iHeart. Let's see what happens next. Now they're on Netflix because of the Volume. And,
I mean, that's like from my perspective, the idea of like doing a podcast and the podcast not having to sink or swim on the basis of how much money it's actually earning right now is so bizarre and so fucking crazy. Because I
couldn't live like you couldn't do that, right?
No, like this fucking business has to like pay for itself, and like the idea of like having an advance to keep it alive is so bizarre to me. But you know, I support them. I want to see them do well, but the idea that you like need that in order to survive is just kind of insane to me. I don't know.
I think they'll persist just because of what we said before, the industry connections and the people that believe in them and like them, like Maul.
Yeah. But maybe also there's like a cheaper version of this business that they're running. Do you think? Like maybe they're just like spending too much. Like how many employees does it really take for you guys to like show up at an office and record twice a week for a couple hours?
Rory's producing pods now too. I think he was doing the Prince Miller pod.
But yeah, I heard you point that out, and I mean,
still,
but I'm just like, that's not necessarily like a great sign, right? When you're kind of like doing the manual labor part of the job for other people.
Yeah,
I get it, but it's kind of like when I thought about renting out our space to let other people record here.
Yeah.
Yeah, that wasn't exactly an indication of my confidence in the business. That was really more of an indication of like, damn, we got to pinch and save every penny, man.
Yeah, No Jumper Media. Now, I feel like I often do look at their thing, and I think it's too bloated for the numbers that they get. Like, I was like, I wouldn't. This is just me, and far be it for me. They're way more successful than I am at making a podcast, and most people, but their like thumbnails are like really like high end. And like, why do you need a thumbnail like that?
But I do kind of feel like that's like they clearly put so much time and energy into these thumbnails that you don't think?
No, they do
more than we do for sure.
Yeah, no, but I mean it's painstaking time. Like it's like elite.
And it just kind of stands out to me as like shit. Like I would not do that. I would not have ever thought that would actually be worth it. But then I kind of do think it's worth it because
stick out.
It stands out to me when I'm scrolling through Twitter. Is it enough to actually make me watch it? No, probably not. But it's probably a lot better than them just posting a picture of them standing there. Like Joe's thumbnails are the thumbnails of someone who feels like he doesn't really have to try.
Yeah.
It's just everybody standing there.
There's some level of quality, like a good picture. Academics was making this point about how you could rent a studio and how some folks are like he was saying Vlad rents this studio in New York City and he's like it costs too much. And I was thinking about the need to know. They rented a studio in Williamsburg that I think is like $10,000 a month, and I'm like, you guys are not. But granted, you could rent that studio if you're a podcaster and book it to make your own podcast. But I was thinking at the end of the day, this just seems bloated. And back to Roy and Mall, they have a studio in Manhattan. And I was like, damn, why not Jersey? Why not a place with cheaper real estate? Why not your house? Why not? Because you could pay somebody $15,000 to create a studio similar to something like this. Maybe not as good.
Big problem is that like you don't really want people coming into your crib, right?
1,000%.
But you could rent an apartment complex, or not complex,
exactly.
But you could rent like another spot and kind of use
like
that.
Canal Street, which probably costs an arm and a leg.
When I hear you lay out how much that shit is, I'm like, whoa, because. Literally, if you search podcast rentals around here, you can find so many spots for like $40 an hour.
What? Video?
Yeah, I don't know. You probably have to do a lot of it yourself. But like, so I was talking about renting the spot for other people to use it. And one of my employees basically like convinced me not to do it by just pulling up how many other places were available locally for like shitty ass rates.
Damn. In New York, it's really hard. There was a place I found that's like really cheap, but everybody else, I don't know why Weezy and Mandy charge so much. I really don't. Some of the stuff don't make sense, but maybe I know they're gonna attack me. Well, Mandy really, I think the reason why I say I can afford it, but the reason why I say that is this thing doesn't generate that much money. So unless you make money, I don't see it.
I mean, for them, it's supply and demand. They got X amount of hours per week, and if people are down to pay $200 an hour, then they're going to charge that. And if that doesn't work, then they're probably going to drop that rate to $150 an hour or $100 an hour or whatever you got to do. I mean, really, ultimately, they got a finite resource in terms of hours of available recording. But
there's also shows that do like whole seasons because they're backed by corporations or have a lot of money. So
yeah, no, definitely. I mean, even. Yeah, I hate the feeling of like knowing that I'm paying for the space while I'm recording. Just knowing that like if I spend an extra hour here that I'm like making more money off the content, but also losing money because I have to spend more on the rental. That just doesn't feel great.
Yeah, they charge you for like a furniture change. They're like $20. You made us move a sofa.
But bro, wait, really?
Yeah.
Oh my god. But wait, who's the genius though? And I always say, what would Vlad do? What would Vlad do? If you want to know what the right thing to do is in this space, you can largely just look to Vlad and do what he's doing. Because Vlad, not far from here, while I sit here in a very expensive office building, which I purchased, Vlad has a co-op studio rental. So he is going to record from noon to 3. He's got an interview to do. He puts it on the schedule that he needs the studio from noon to 3. And if it's me doing the interview from noon to 3, I'm walking out of there and there's 3 white guys with guitars walking in. Those drums you see in the background of the DJ Vlad set, there is a person playing those drums.
What is that? Like
they share the space. So it's like some band is using the space to record once Vlad is done.
Oh, wow. I didn't know that.
And that works out great for him because think about it. One of the dumbest parts about us owning this spot, which I didn't really think about until we had it, is that this space is sitting here not in use on Saturday and Sunday and, for like 15 hours at night as opposed to the hours that we're in there recording. Yeah. And like, doesn't really make that much sense to pay for a space unless you're going to be using it like a lot. And if I had to kind of go back, I probably would have done something like that. But I have different needs too. I can't. Nobody's telling me that I'm recording for 3 hours. Like I need it for a lot of hours every day.
So no, I get it. But now Vlad is the model. I think if you study his moves, you'll get far.
Yeah. No, thanks. You got any more topics over there?
No, I don't. I had to. Let me open up my laptop.
Yeah, man. Feed me, Danny.
Yeah, I just had Elliot Wilson, Jim Jones.
Oh, the Jim Jones thing is interesting.
Rolling 60s. But not yet. Jim Jones is that's another one. Let's rap about it. I don't know. One thing that I don't like is that they got into this beef with I think about the 50 thing.
Yeah.
And Mano said something like, I don't consider myself a podcaster. We don't talk about people. And it's not just them, because I don't want to make it about them. There's a lot of people in this space afraid to say that they're podcasters or content creators. And I'm like, I think we need to not be afraid to say that. Like, it's okay if you're a podcast creator, if you're a content creator, Mano, it's okay. It's like, this is cool, actually.
Yeah.
There's nothing wrong with that. Yeah.
And this, realistically, as much as you've been a rapper for a long time, this is probably going to be more beneficial for you financially. So you probably shouldn't be talking about it. Like, it's not something to avoid anymore. I mean, okay, as far as New York-based podcasters / hip-hop personalities, I feel like, and we're kind of like lumping in a bunch of different things, but like you have like Joe and Ak are kind of like
number one.
Okay, and then Charlamagne.
Yeah.
Who has The Breakfast Club, Brilliant It Is, whatever. But like, it's kind of like those are really the 3 big dogs, I think it's fair to say. Then you have and it kind of feels like Jim is poised to maybe become the next guy if he's actually going to take podcasting seriously.
I'm forgetting about Cameron, but he does.
Cam, okay, Cam makes a lot of sense. Yeah, it's a different thing. You're right. Yeah. Cam is a thing.
Jim is, to me, and even Mano, I think Mano's a true talent. I know he got back and forth with Ak, and you kind of saw him
flounder a little.
I think he just hadn't dealt with somebody who's not going to stop.
Yeah.
And I remember there was a space or a live where he said, I dissed you. I mean, you dissed me, then I dissed you, and then you dissed me, but you didn't have to go back at me after I dissed you. You should have just left it. I was like, that's not how this works anymore. In content, Ak is always going to go back, and he has this like a system. He is able to predict people. But But yeah, Mano to me is really talented. I remember he had his own podcast, Kitchen Talk, I think it was called.
Yeah.
He was really good at it, and he stopped. It was like during the pandemic as well. But I feel like if he would have kept on, he would have had a lot more success.
I would like to pick apart their dynamic more, but I haven't actually really watched anything besides a handful of clips.
I only watch a couple like clips, and I always feel like, why is like it really just needs to be Mano and Jim. I don't know why Dave East and
Fabulous is like star power, and Dave East is like youth power.
Is Dave East really a youth fact?
I think he's like 37 or some shit. Like, I mean, compared to the rest of them, you know, he feels a lot younger.
Yeah, I think it's a lot of like, yo, we don't talk about that shit. We keep it different over here. And it's like, you don't really do that. I mean, you guys are sitting in front of a mic like everybody.
Yeah, that's the funny thing about it is that they all act as if they are above talking about street shit, but like, what else could you possibly be doing on a podcast when the topic of street shit is coming up? Like, that's the one thing that I really felt like Brick Baby was kind of revolutionary in podcasting, because I had sat there for so much time with dudes like AD and T-Rail or whoever who are like street dudes, quote unquote. But then I sit down with Brick Baby and he's just saying the craziest shit, but it's real. He's like talking about, I think he's talking about like the O Block 5 and FBG Duck. The guy, basically the O Block members who went and killed FBG Duck. And like, we're talking about it. And he's kind of like, you know, it's sad, man. I ain't got nothing against Doug, but at the end of the day, you know, you got to respect somebody who goes out and gets their man. That's what the streets is all about. He's like, the streets is all about you're going to go make money, whether it's through drugs or music or whatever. And then you're going to go take your enemies out. Yeah. And he's just sitting there saying this. And I'm like, thank you. I'm like, that's what all these motherfuckers are saying in their songs. Yeah. And nobody will ever admit that like when it comes to gangsters, yes, there's like a very clear-cut thing that happens here. They get money, and then a lot of times some of that money goes back into guns and whatnot for the hood, and some of that money gets put on people's heads. And I mean, but nobody wants to talk about the ugly side of the streets on podcasts. That's really what like Ice and Ish and them are trying to like avoid is acknowledging the ugly realities, you know? Yeah,
the grim realities always, I feel like I feel like we've created a scenario where like now only street dudes can talk about or like respond to people. Like I didn't like how Joe talked about the whole Ak and Mano thing. It's like, Ak shouldn't be talking back to Mano. I'm like, I feel like, why can't we talk? They create content. I know they're gonna beat your ass. Yeah,
but as in like Mano's gonna fuck him up.
Yeah, he was or like he should leave that alone.
Get out of here.
But the thing is what do you do if there is a reality that Mano or any, I don't want to say Mano because I think Mano's actually above it and matured past it. But what is the reality if somebody can't actually get you touched? And like, if you do get into a back and forth with a gang member who has connections, is like, but they, I don't know.
You got to move right.
But that's crazy.
But I mean, that's reality. It's like, look at Ak. Ak ain't leaving the crib without security. Like,
but what about the regular dude? Like, what about me if I get into a back and forth with, let's say, random Troy Ave? Like, am I supposed to like just be like, all right, I don't got the street, man. Now I got to move around my job different. I got to go to my 9 to 5 and look different ways.
If I'm you, my attitude is, if you want to do something to me, maybe I got something on me. Maybe I'm gonna outdo you in this situation. That's number one. Is that like you got to keep them guessing, in the sense like, do I have a gun on me? Do I have a knife on me? You don't know. Yeah. So don't pull up on me on some crazy shit because you don't know. Yeah. I honestly think that I would have already got beat up multiple times if it wasn't for the fact that people actually believe that I'm moving around a certain way.
Yeah, but you're also a man of means, I think, and I think people.
But I don't have security with me like almost ever.
You don't think people think about, because you're around these people that it may be a good idea to touch Adam?
Maybe is a little bit of that, but I think just in general, like, you know, people, you got to keep them guessing. Yeah. And then in addition to that, you got to like let them know I will press charges against you.
Oh, I'll do
like,
that.
I have nothing against that. Like if Mano beats my ass, then I'm going to sue you. I'm going to sue you civilly and I'm going to press charges in court. So really, like, once you acknowledge I'm not a street dude, so I can shoot you. And if I will shoot you, I will tell and I will sue you. I got all these superpowers. You can't do multiple of the things. You can't press charges against me. It's not allowed in your little world.
Yeah, especially when there's a content back and forth. I feel like if I say, Adam, you dress weird, you dress horribly, and then your response is, I'm gonna body you. I'm gonna have to see you. But then again, there is certain cultural norms that I guess that is acceptable. Yeah.
Yeah, but it's like the more Maynard puts himself into the podcaster space, the more that's just not going to be useful. Like, we get it, you're tough.
Yeah,
you got all this street shit that you've been through in your life. That's awesome. Makes for good podcasting content. But you just are not going to be able to win an argument back and forth with academics who's not. It's not like grading himself on that vector. You know, it's like I'm just not like trying to tell you I'm tough. So if you prove that you're tougher than me, it doesn't matter.
I thought they should have freaked it. I thought they should have tried to talk with Ak on the pod. I thought that would have been kind of fire.
And that would have been, knowing Ak, there's absolutely no way that he's putting himself in that environment. But
just Mano or just one of them.
It would be smart, yeah, because you want to face your critics head on. I've had great, like this year, did a really couple great interviews with this guy Hoover Gumby.
Okay.
And it was 100% just me watching a vlog, seeing him talk shit about me and thinking like, oh, this guy's tight. Like, he's pretty funny. He's like good on camera. If I do content with this guy, it'll be really good. So yeah, you got to be willing to run towards that stuff.
Yeah. I mean, I don't think it's the same with me, like sitting with Imani and sitting with, who else did I sit with? Rory and Julian and all of them. But it is fun to kind of talk to people and kind of meet in the middle sometimes. But I think Mano and Ak got to a point where they didn't even want to meet in the middle, and there was no dialogue to be had. You know?
Yeah, I don't know if they're going to be able to get back to normal. So a big one in terms of like me seeing you talk about stuff and me kind of having to go on your word, because I wanted to sign Mona.
Why is it you always trying to sign Flip Mona?
Okay, me DMing Flip about signing him, that was a joke. But like with Mona, like I interviewed her. Actually, God, you should watch that interview.
Watch it.
There's got to be something to it that is going to be useful, I'm guessing, to your business. But I think that she and I had a great conversation, and I saw the vision, and I knew that she was with Breakbeat Media at the time, which I already knew was probably not going to last. But we saw her go through the whole trials and tribulations of the Breakfast Club. They didn't apparently want her, and then now she's doing the Joe Budden thing. But do you feel like her spot is secure right now, or do you feel like it's very much in jeopardy? Because it seems like she's got a lot of star power, but she's having a hard time fitting in.
Yeah, you could tell that the structure of the Joe Budden podcast weighs on her. Like, having to pod for that long is not something she's used to. There's a lot of cutting off. There's a lot of her over talking people, but she's energized a certain base of the audience. And let's be honest, she's surrounded by Ish and Nice who don't talk a lot. So maybe she feels like she's got to fill in those awkward gaps. I think we all been around people who just feel like they have to fill in the silence, and that's who she is.
But do you think with her that her talking about herself all the time is because she lacks the skill set to necessarily discuss the topics in any meaningful way? Is she doing that because she's kind of covering up for her failings?
She is not researched. She does not seem to prep for the show. But yeah, I do think a lot of my commenters say she's female Flip, where you know how Flip just gets if you don't know about something, whereas her is like a crazy offhand joke about vagina or something that will happen, or Ish, your eyes are so amazing, you look so sexy. Like, she does that a lot. But I almost sometimes think like it's working in times, but I feel like deep down when Mona lays down her head at night, she's like, I don't like this shit. I feel like that. But yeah. But the money though.
The money and the spotlight is, obviously very beneficial for her. But yeah, I mean, I just wonder like how it's gonna kind of work out, because she's definitely someone who has a lot of swag, a lot of style points. But as far as her being able to really have those conversations on a consistent basis, I wonder how that's gonna go for her, because I think she's already figuring out that a lot of the things that she could kind of hang her hat on previously just are not going to work. Her saying like, "Oh, I hate when non-street dudes talk about street shit." It's just not like
2018 anymore.
Yeah, you're just not really going to be able to like endear the fans to you if like we're talking about Ak versus Mano and that's what you go to. That's just not really impressive.
Yeah, she went on this tirade about like she was like, I hate Trump. And it was we understand if you hate Trump. It was cool. It's fine. But you didn't really articulate why you hate, and it was like really it felt like a 2016 rant.
Yeah.
It was like update, and there was another thing. Mona's repeating the same jokes. And by the way, that academic rant was diabolical. He said shit about her that I think will have ramifications in the same way that Rory and Mal, the shit he used to say about Rory and Mal will have.
Like, you think Joe's not gonna be able to fuck with her?
No, when he said the shit about her, I don't want to do this. But when he said the shit about the drug addict thing,
yeah,
I think him pointing that out might be something that lingers because he's reading. Ak has pretty much said in the past that he reads these Reddit message boards and he weaponizes some of the narratives that people have, but because he says it on such a big platform, it's a different thing. But yeah, there's just times when it just seems like Mona is a little bit out there in terms of the way she has conversation. But yeah, no disrespect to Mona. I don't mean to disrespect you. Salute.
I am not 100% sure, but I'm pretty sure that when I interviewed her 3 years ago, is going to be my guess, I'm pretty sure that the views on her solo podcast were like pretty significant.
They still are.
Isn't she getting like 10K on her like solo episodes?
I feel like I saw her with like a 50, 60, which is a lot to me.
Really? Yeah. Okay. Yeah, that's legit, especially since it's solo.
It's by herself too.
I was just thinking that I just feel like her views have kind of dropped off like a ton over the last couple years. I'm not 100% sure if that's true. Wait, yeah. I'm actually oh, okay. Look, 21 hours ago, she started her own YouTube channel. You don't know about this?
I just look at her.
21 hours ago, and this is just from me searching Mona Don't Call Me White Girl. Welcome to Mona Love Media, the realest channel on YouTube. And the thing about why is because she's not able to use her the channel that she built her with Breakbeat. They own that. And yeah, look, was this pap ready? Cook and Crack, episode 1. Yeah, these are all her old videos.
I think it's Rebel Hill Productions.
Yeah, what is Rebel Hill Productions? That's maybe somebody that she started this thing with. But either way, Breakbeat, apparently she's not allowed to post on there anymore. But oh yeah, 3 weeks ago, 73K. I mean, that's hella legit if that's real.
Yeah.
No, yeah, that's super good. I thought it was bad. My apologies. I thought it was...
her stuff on Breakbeat's killer. I think that's something she should be proud of, that she's able to, even on Breakbeat. That is not easy.
Yeah, I apologize to her because I was about to include her in the Queenzflip box because I feel like Queenzflip is always taking credit for like having his own platform and shit. And it's like, your platform ain't doing shit. Like, your views are not good.
I think with him, it's like short form. But I just want to say with Mona, her comedic timing sometimes shows flashes of brilliance. Like, I'm talking about like where you hear her talk and it's like something the Joe Budden podcast has never seen before. It's just about how she's going to be able to structure it and do it within the context of the Joe Budden podcast. And I don't think she's figured that out yet.
Yeah, I have a lot of people. I try a lot of people out as co-hosts who, yeah, it's just like pretty obvious pretty quickly that they don't really got the
goods.
No, like they got the goods, but they, as soon as it comes time to sit with a bunch of other people and talk about topics and not talk about yourself.
Shit, I might be like that. I don't know.
I mean, a lot of people, I think it's fair to say that probably even the majority of people talk about themselves, think about themselves.
Why are you shooting at ED, man?
Okay. That is a great example. But I just think it's fair to say that like most people don't really ever even have like a moment where it's like you're really forced to talk about what's going on in the news or, you know, other people. Maybe like you talk about people at work. You and somebody else from work are going to talk about how the girl who works on the other side of the office is a bitch. Yeah. So there, okay, boom, you're having a conversation about somebody else. But like most people are not really that invested in the news besides like what they see in short form clips. And I think she's still kind of figuring that out. I wonder how much conversation she's having with Joe behind the scenes, because Joe really needs to be like hammering that home to her. Like this, like you could be great, but you got to shut the fuck up about yourself. You're going to have to like really figure out how to like.
Yeah, like don't shut up. Just shut the fuck up about yourself, you mean? Like,
yeah, just like, you know, you're gonna have to like get better at this. You're gonna have to be able to communicate in a little bit more of like a balanced way.
Yeah, it's like Mark Lamont. I know he'll be able to carry a conversation forward without inserting himself.
Yeah.
And he'll be like, yeah, one of the things I've noticed that you have brought up in this is that you made a good point, and that like turnkeys that other person, and they start to think about things on the pod.
And he comparatively, if he were to just talk about himself all the time, has a lot more to talk about. Yeah. Realistically, it seems like he's pretty active in life. Yeah. But I mean, I heard a quote a long time ago, like, I don't know who said it, but like, dumb people talk about other people. No, dumb people talk about themselves. Smart people talk about, dumb people talk about other people. Smart people talk about ideas. It up. I can't even remember. It's been so long. I can't even remember. But like the gist of it is like different levels of intelligence. Like a lot of people can only talk about themselves. That's one level. Yeah. Then like being able to talk about other people is another level. Being able to talk about ideas is the real level.
Yeah, yeah. But is it really just that? Don't you have to do it in an entertaining way as well?
And that's a big part of the problem too, yeah.
Yeah, because I can talk about the theory of the Overton window, but if I don't make it entertaining, it doesn't matter.
That's why like people who have the freedom to make videos about whatever they want, that's always going to be
Joe.
Shocking.
Yeah, Joe can do that.
You feel?
I feel like Joe can talk about bullshit and it'd be like he could walk into a studio and be like, man, the engineer, he was having a discussion. He was wearing white uptowns. And I was thinking about how white uptowns used to mean something in New York, but they don't mean that no more. Yeah. And then that whole becomes like a 37-minute discussion. And people start, but white uptowns do matter. And it's like, I see him do it on the pod all the time. And even I think there was another time where he was talking about, do you have choice in life or is it all predetermined? That's talking about an idea. But,
no, definitely, I heard them talking about was it side chicks? Oh no, you were talking about them talking about guys who hide their emotions from their significant other in a relationship to keep up a good impression.
Yeah,
and when I heard you talk about them talking about that, I'm like, see, that's a pretty high level podcast topic, because it's like, you don't even necessarily have an example of who you're talking about. You don't necessarily need that. It's more of just like an idea. And I don't actually know anyone who does that, I don't think. So maybe that's why
emotions.
I don't think that would ever really occur to me, because I don't really know what dudes are doing with their girls.
Hiding their emotions. I mean, I think that's a common trope, is that's what Ish was playing into, is that dudes feel like they can't put too much on their women, either because they seem like they're weak or that they'll stress their women out. And but maybe that's an outdated trope, and that's one thing Ish also falls into, is he falls into these like extreme analogies about things, and I think it's part of his problem. But he's a big part of the podcast, so I think people rock with it.
Yeah, no, definitely. So, okay, shout out Danny from the Stop. Everybody go watch his channel.
Yeah, man. Danny from the Stop. Subscribe to the Patreon too.
You going right back to the East Coast, or
no? I'm gonna go back to Texas.
Oh. You just been spending time out there, or what?
No, I'm just visiting. Yeah, I'm a New Yorker though. Yeah,
but you got a situation. You got family there?
Yeah.
Okay.
I don't want to reveal that, but yeah, I do. But yeah, so I'm happy to be here, Burbank.
Gotta watch out in Texas though.
What happened?
That's where all the drill rappers go now.
For real?
Yeah, like a lot of times I'll be talking to a drill rapper, and then I'll slowly start to realize that they live in like Houston. And that they, but not like that they like interact with people a lot in Texas, that they like move to Texas and just stay in the crib. Like a lot of those drill type dudes are just so paranoid. They're not like going to Applebee's.
Smart. I don't think I have any friction with drill rappers, so I'll be okay.
Yeah, not that much overlap, but maybe you'll get there.
Yeah.
All right. Shout out my boy Danny from the Stop. Go watch his channel. If you enjoyed this interview, like, comment, and subscribe. Peace. And we'll be back real soon.